please. Call the roll, please.
Cruz, Capacity,
Yes.
Frazier,
Here.
Morris, here, Taylor, here, Vandermark,
Present.
Brightwell.
Here.
Mr. President, you have a quorum of the excused Councilman Cruz.
Thank you very much.
That's what our training said. We're supposed to say present.
The first item on the agenda will be discussion regarding rezoning.
Good evening. This item is on your agenda tonight because next week's been canceled. The following week you have a joint meeting with Lawrence Tech. But this will be coming back for public hearing on your May 21st meeting. The applicant is Mr. Mike Shimami. Would like the city to consider rezoning his parcel located on West 12 Mile Road. It's 0.59 acres. It's on the north side of 12 Mile between Franklin Road and Cass Ave. It has an existing zoning of R1 single family, and the request is to rezone it to OS office service. This is the approximate dimensions of the property, 165 across and 156 deep. These are existing conditions. There's multiple family development to the north, east, and west of the property. The future land use calls for low density, multiple family. Current zoning is R1, and the proposed zoning is OS. Now, you might recall that we've had a few similar type of rezoning requests in the past where they've been under 1 acre. This is substantially under 1 acre. It's close to half an acre. And whenever we get into a situation where it's less than an acre, we have to start being concerned about spot zoning. And I want to just read to you some definitions of what spot zoning is. Spot zoning involves rezoning a small land area for use that is different than the surrounding land uses. Remember, it's mostly residential, multiple family residential around the site. The applicant is requesting OS office service. It conveys benefits to one landowner without considering the general welfare, and it is not consistent with the comprehensive plan. In each of these cases, this subject site does not meet our master plan. It's under an acre, and it would be a significant benefit only to the landowner. But with that being said, I'd like to invite Mr. Shimami up to discuss what his concerns, what his issues and his desires are. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And again, this is scheduled for a public hearing on May 21st.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mike Shimami here on behalf of this project site here that we're coming in to try to rezone. It's one of those, it's a site there that's pretty much, I understand it's zoned R1. There used to be an old home there at one time. But pretty much everything around the site has been redeveloped to either multifamily. There is some office just west of the property, which is, I think, almost in the same map circular there that it showed. But I know there's multifamily there. There used to be, it is zoned R1, but I mean, I think that would be the least that would make sense for the city to put a single residential home right there on 12 Mile, the main busy strip there where there's pretty much everything else. It's been different type of business. Across the street there's some retail. West of us there's retail. East of us there's retail. Across the street there's retail, and there's banks, fast food users. We've had quite a few interest on that site, but every time when they realize it's zone residential R1, nobody wants to stick around, they just walk away. I've had fast food users, I've had a bank at one time, I had a credit union, but with it being, once it's being R1, we can't really do anything with it. Nobody wants to, stick around and wait to see if it can be rezoned, so we're hoping we can get it rezoned, we can market it, and hopefully we can get a good tenant there, potentially a doctor, urgent care, or something of that sort.
If I could, we did suggest to Mr. Shimami contact the adjacent property owners, because if they would be willing to rezone a half an acre and make it contiguous, then we wouldn't be setting a precedent against what we've done in the past.
Council?
Can I comment on that? We did contact them, we got a hold of the management company, Hartman Tyner manages that complex. We, instead of just going in there and just, trying to get them to rezone it, we thought we'd put $10,000 in the email on the table just to make it somewhat appealing versus just going in there and saying, can you help us out to try to get this rezoned? They came back, they said they're not interested in anything of that sort. They don't want to be involved with that.
If I could though, just for clarification, you can correct me if I'm wrong. They were under the impression you were trying to purchase the surrounding detention pond wetland area. Wasn't that the case at
No,
first?
we wanted, we told them just to rezone it, and instead of just saying, can you guys help us out, we say, we told them we'd cover all the costs, and we said we'd offer $10,000 just to, as an incentive to try to get us to get it to the 1 acre lot. The management company said the ownership wouldn't have any interest at all, and I think even Jeff tried to contact them a few times, didn't even respond to them. Jeff Spence.
Mrs. Perkowski?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that piece of property. It's been sitting there for a long time, and I don't know any other way that it's gonna be used unless you have a use for it and need a special zoning for it, and so I would be very much for rezoning it because it just sits there. It's been sitting there for years.
Again, we're not opposed to the use, it's just, we don't want to set a precedent.
Yeah, I know.
We've recommended denial, or you've disapproved other requests that have been less than an acre. He does have the option of building single family. The master plan supports multiple family, and there might be a zone where you could build 2 or 3 units on the site. So I just want you to consider that there are other options. And I would ask maybe this, again, if it was an acre, I could suggest a conditional zoning where we could limit it to medical office. It wouldn't be a fast food or drive-through use. But the stumbling block is that it's only 0.59 acres. And we've been pretty adamant and consistent in our policy in the past. And I'm just, as you're guiding you through this, I just want you to be aware of all that.
Well, Terry, is it for his use, or is he gonna sell it? You want to zone and then sell it, or do you have a specific use for it?
Well, we have a couple of users that might be interested, possibly urgent care, maybe. I'll probably be the landlord, owner will develop it for somebody. We have an urgent care and potential, maybe a dentist, family dentist that might come in there.
You did
Which
mention
I think
fast
would be a
food,
good
right?
fit for we did have fast food before,
Okay,
but that would have to be commercial, that probably
It
have
has
to be commercial, so
It
we're
has to
not
be
coming in for that.
commercial there, right?
Commercial would be great if you guys would allow that, but.
No. That I would not allow you. I, me personally.
Ms. Taylor?
I'm familiar with this property as well, and I agree with Don. I'd like to see something. As a matter of fact, I know people that live in the apartment buildings right down the sidewalk from there, and they're begging for something, that vacant space, so I would be in favor of, even if we have to put some kind of parameters around saying that it can only be for office use and not for else that we don't want to see, like we've done in the past as well. So that we don't have to worry about something going in that we don't want there. But I know that that's a terrible site. It's just vacant. So I agree with you on that.
Mr. Montalban?
Who owns the surrounding, that,
The multiple family to the north.
Franklin Hills Apartments.
and that, depending on whatever development would go in there, whether we rezone it and it becomes an office or they build multi-family residential, whatever they do, that would still remain. There's no way to really remove that, or is there?
No, that's a private property. We were not suggesting removing it. However, they could have allowed a rezoning. If they allowed them to square off this property, and one of the things I could talk to Ms. Ward about is whether we want to consider a public benefit rezoning and making this a 1 acre that, I'm trying to be creative, but I also have to protect what we've done in the past and not open ourselves up.
It's all wetlands though, isn't it?
Right,
Wetland,
but
wetland.
rezoning is different than the development, and this would have to stay, but at least it would give us, a defense of why it's 1 acre zoning. He would only be developing 0.59 acres, but it would be contiguous 1 acre of zoning.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Thanks.
Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, based on your suggestion of that, the phantom half acre, how can you go in and rezone somebody else's property that you already own? What if they say, no, we're not interested?
Well, one was we asked them to voluntarily do it.
Yeah,
There's always a public benefit. Now, whether they meet the definition of public benefit is something different. But I'm just trying to come up with possible solutions as opposed to approving something that goes against the grain of zoning and goes against everything that we've done because it's 0.59 acres.
I'm not arguing with you, I'm asking for clarification.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this, I've been here for quite a while, we've never run into this where someone comes in with a piece of property and we're gonna do some stuff. I am pretty familiar with the snag that we got at Northland where people do stuff and then there's easements and, 20 years down the road, somebody says, I wonder why they did that.
Right.
So, I think you'd have to go to the multifamily place and say, either can you sell it to them, can you do something nice for them, whatever.
It wouldn't even require them to transfer the land. It just require them to change their zoning, and it doesn't affect the previous approvals.
But then they have a piece of property that's zoned R1 and a piece of their property that's zoned,
Well, they're zoned RM, multiple family,
yeah,
and then this frontage would be rezoned, it would be zoned OS. And it's not unusual to have frontage transition to another zoning if it's 1 acre or greater.
But if
It
they
doesn't
don't-
affect, in material purposes, it doesn't change that the fact that they have a detention pond here. It doesn't impede on any future development for their purposes. It only, in essence, enhances possibly what they could do in the future. But they gotta, either they voluntarily do it or the city considers it a public benefit. And you brought up about Northland, we actually, when we did the overlay district, we expanded it beyond what the city owned and did a public benefit rezoning all the way from 9 Mile to 8 Mile from Greenfield to Northwestern Highway.
Okay.
Mr. Sauer.
Yeah, Mr. Sherman, through the chair to Mr. Sherman, how long have you owned this property?
I believe since 2004, maybe, 2004, 2005.
What was your vision all along?
You know what, our vision back then when we bought it, there was a home there was a little bit of income coming, there was a rental home, and it got to a point where the home was really bad. We worked with the city at the time with the code department. They suggested the best thing to do was probably tear it down because of the condition of the home. We did go ahead and do that, we did level the house down, it's been vacant since, and like I said, we haven't had any luck in 15 years, once they know that the zoning is R1, it's gonna stay like that unless something is done where we can at least market it and try to bring in a potential, but, to get an urgent care there, or a family dentist, or I think it'd be a big benefit for the multifamily behind it. I mean, I don't see what's the,
My other thought is, if you did the community benefit, the other half of this, between the property owner and the driveway, it's kind of rough. And I know it's wet, but it's lacks eye appeal. So cleaning it up would be a plus. And I understand your argument about, it becomes a slippery slope.
Yeah.
If you recall, we had a small piece across from the high school that we
Yeah.
denied, and there was another piece We just want to be consistent. And those were close to an acre. This is half that size.
Right.
All right, Mr.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr.
Just
Picasso.
making an observation.
Okay. I agree with you, make a better development if you can do that, but if they don't own it, would the owner be against it?
Well,
Or
again,
would you work with the present owner of the other piece, or how would you do it?
we tried reaching out, however, I don't know if we were completely successful and talked to the right people. And again, we could continue to try that. And I'd like to correspond with the city attorney. We have 3 weeks to try to come up with a solution, but we did recommend that the applicant reach out. We postponed it at the planning commission level for a month to give them some time to reach out to the property owner.
I don't know if there maybe was a discussion, maybe the trade-off is if they would consent to the rezoning, maybe you take off some of the maintenance responsibilities or something, because then, you know, I don't know if the tax is different, does the, Mike, I saw Mike, if would OS be a higher tax rate than say if it was left residential?
It would, but primarily because it's the road frontage.
That's what I'm wondering,
commercial
is that
frontage,
why
that's
they're
correct.
objecting, because they figured it would be a higher, although it's undevelopable if it's a wetland, right?
Well, yeah, I believe it's a required detention pond.
So it's not buildable per
It's not
se.
buildable. So
But that could be why they don't want to, because they
It's possible.
assume that the tax bill will be a little higher on an OS than what it is right now.
And again, you know, it goes back to Ms. Ward, the applicant has a reasonable use of his property, not
Right.
always the highest and best
Right.
use on a monetary
Right.
basis. That's another one of the zoning tests that we look at. And he can reasonably develop it for single family. The master plan does support multiple family, which would be a little higher yield. And we're just caught between a rock and a hard place here on this piece.
All righty,
So this will come back in 3 weeks, and
okay.
we'll try to put our creative minds together in between, see what we can come up with.
All righty. Okay, just a little housekeeping. Item number
Thank you
8
very much.
has been postponed from this agenda,
Thank you.
and also the come out with the consent agenda.
Right?
Item number 8 postponed.
And then, Mr. President, were you going to add the discussion we had earlier about the PMB extension? Okay.
You know, should I do that now, or want to do it out there?
Well, we thought we at least broach the subject.
Okay.
It should be real quick, but
Place at 8?
maybe you could just do it in place of 8, or?
But it doesn't matter, I mean,
Okay.
but we can,
Or just put it at the end?
we'll just put it at the
Okay.
end, just for consistency purposes. We'll go with item number 1 now. Two.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Board. At this time, the cities of Southfield Smart Zone and Lawrence Tech are interested in entering into a business accelerator agreement. As many of you know, for the last several years, we've been working on an extension of the Smart Zone, which was granted, and we have moved forward with several initiatives. One of which was we were pursuing a grant from the Economic Development Agency, the National Economic Development Agency, for $1 million. And in November 28, 2017, the city of Southfield authorized $1 million of our funds to serve as a match for 10,000 square feet of an accelerator space at Mark Plaza, which is the office building that Lawrence Technological University purchased. However, due to some circumstances regarding the grant, the university was forced to decline that grant. And so for the last couple of months, we've been working with the accelerator to come up with a new agreement in order for us to move forward with our funds. So at this time, it was determined that we could reduce the size of the new accelerator from 10,000 square feet down to 6,300 square feet, in addition to an ADA restroom at the Merck Plaza building, so that we would reduce the size of the accelerator, but the Smart Zone would still like to move forward with funding of the building out of that facility. As well, we would like to continue to provide funding for the accelerator's operational budget of $100,000 for the next 10 years. The university has been very successful in receiving funding from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation in terms of a gatekeeper grant. That $100,000 will serve as a match for those funds, and if for some reason those funds were to go away as the new administration comes forward, the city would still like to utilize our funds to help support that facility. So we have been working with the university to come up with a new agreement in order for us to move forward with this accelerator. It was determined that we could have 3 representatives from the city of Southfield and 3 representatives from Lawrence Technological University to serve as a governing board to help make the best decisions for this facility. The university would administer the staff and the reporting obligations of the accelerator, and we would work together as a team to review the business plan, the terms of the organization, and work out all the definitive agreements, expenditures, in order to make the accelerator be successful. So at this time, we're asking for the university, for city council to approve our city attorney to work with Lawrence Tech to work out the terms of this agreement. So, are there any questions? I know it was a little jumbled, I'm very sorry about that.
Mr. Bukowski?
How much total do we have invested in that accelerator incubator?
Well, currently, because there is no actual space, so the city's been supporting it financially for $100,000 as a match per year. That's
Did we
correct.
put $1 million into that facility?
But that's what we're asking, that the city council approved us supporting the build out of the space, but because we were not able to secure the grant, the university wasn't receptive to the terms of the federal grant, we declined it. So now we're looking to downsize the facility, use up to $1 million of our funds to help support the build out and the technology and the furniture of the new space. So we never actually used the original approval that was done in November of 2017. So we're looking to redefine those terms right now and then move forward with the hopes of having this space built out by September.
So the new one is gonna be 6,300 square feet?
That's correct.
Tell me, what is a 140-foot ADA bathroom?
Just, a bathroom that has a large enough turning
140
radius.
feet, that's a big.
Right, to accommodate the needs of the ADA population.
Square feet.
Square feet.
The other thing I
140
wanted to
square feet's
mention,
not very big.
140?
140 square feet is not very big.
No, but 140, it says 140
140
feet.
foot
Yeah, they
ADA
didn't-
restroom.
They didn't know where the key for square
Right,
was.
yes.
And I did understand the word, it says, including without limitation, Southfield funds, when aggregated and applied in conjunction with other committed funds for the build-out is not a minimum commitment. What do you mean by minimum?
We
commitment?
have,
You just have a commitment.
we've been working with our attorney from Jaffe, And he wanted us to be careful with the verbiage. But the goal is that originally we had $1 million that we were gonna put towards this space, and it was a larger space. If the space is successful and we wanna grow past the 6,300 square feet, we wanna make sure that we have enough funding to do that. So our $1 million that we have dedicated to the space, if we're able to get it up to 10,000 square feet, we'll still have funding. So right now, we're gonna use up to $1 million to build out this space.
But it's a minimum amount,
That is the maximum
well,
amount.
it says minimum amount.
I think that
Yeah, I wanna know, I
it's the
wanna see some
maximum,
caps
it's
on
not,
it.
not a minimum
What?
commitment. The lawyer wrote it. Sue, do you
It
know what he
says
is?
minimum amount.
What he's referring to?
What are you looking at?
It's in the
Let's see,
recommended.
fiscal
resolution.
impact on a
It's
Lawrence
not
tax.
like a double negative.
So,
First paragraph right at the bottom.
Oh, sorry.
Who wrote the letter? He did?
Well, I used some of the language out of our agreement.
Rochelle, hold on a
Yes.
second. I made it, Kevin, you have answers
Mark.
to answer that?
Mark.
Mark, I'm sorry.
Mark,
Give us later.
Oh,
Mark
okay.
Brookie
All right.
oversees the laboratory.
So, the $1 million, what this means is that there's $1 million allocated, but that, if we don't, that this is that we don't want to use it all if we don't have to, okay? So, for example, the state of Michigan, the MEDC, has $250,000 towards this project as well. So that's what the aggregated amount means, okay? And so if we use their $250,000 and then $1 million, if we only use $800,000, but then we only use $800,000 this year of the city allocation from the Smart Zone, that would mean that there would be monies left over for future uses maybe in the next year or so. So that's the idea behind this statement.
If it doesn't put a cap on what the city's spending.
I think we can easily add that.
Yeah.
We'll add that very expressly that the cap is the $1 million. We
Yeah.
assume it's gonna fall under that, but that is the
Yeah.
absolute amount that you're approving
I don't want
tonight.
minimum, because it can go sky the limit.
Absolutely, and
Right,
they
that's correct.
can't promise that, so.
Right, we do not have any plans of exceeding that dollar amount. And, again, if we were to build out more space, it would be within that $1 million.
You gotta change that 140 feet to square feet, I think. Is that
Square
right?
foot bathroom, yes.
It's
Sorry.
140 square feet,
Correct.
not 140 feet,
Right.
as long as it's building.
Exactly. You're very long.
Okay, Ms. Taylor?
Well, could you please explain when it says including without limitation software and support? Is that what the city is gonna be supplying to?
It's, again, so the facility, we're gonna pay for the furniture, for the IT, and so,
For the infrastructure?
for the infrastructure. So just like we had to do for the Michigan workspace, there might be some fiber that we have to include and to build up that facility.
So when it says without limitations, I'm not, I mean, it could be,
Anything related to the equipment that we need for the companies that are kind of come into that space.
okay, and it says software and support, so are we using,
That up to the $1 million to help create the right atmosphere for the companies that are going to come into that space. So if it's to help pay for the technology that's going to be in there, or if we need assistance in putting it in, that's what that,
but my question is, are we using any of our employees?
no,
Okay.
no.
All right.
Oh, and just, when you're done, I could just read you what the last sentence we'll modify it to, so it's very clear, and then that would be like the amended resolution that you'd be voting on tonight.
Okay, all right. Mr. Simon?
So what is Lawrence Tech putting into this, that they, besides the building, they own the building? But what are they putting in since they didn't get the $1.2 million grant?
Well, I mean, we're utilizing all of the resources at the university and the talent at the university. So, you know, these funds were really dedicated to help grow the entrepreneurial community. So that is the intent. We're using the manpower, we're using their expertise, their students, leveraging the relationships that they have on the university. If there's larger equipment that the university might have on the campus that these companies are going to need to utilize, the university will be there as a resource to help these companies grow. So, I mean, that was the intent of the dollars all along.
You know, I think for everybody's benefit, you ought to explain how this works with the collaboratory.
This is the collaboratory.
Well, that's what I thought, but they're already doing stuff with the collaboratory.
That's correct. So right now, it's more of a virtual space. So they are working with clients, and they just don't have a dedicated home. And so the goal of this space, the 6,300 square foot space, is to have workshops and demonstrations take place at one central location on a regular basis. We'll have staff there that can meet with people that are coming in to help grow their ideas. And we'll also have space where clients can rent that out for short term to help establish a foothold and to build relationships to grow their businesses. And then we'll be working with them to find larger space in the city of Southfield. So currently, Lawrence Tech and the L2 Collaboratory has been very successful for the last couple of years in growing businesses, and Mark can talk to how many companies they've started, but it's been a real nice, healthy growth that we've had, but there really has not been a place to call
All right,
home.
well, that's where my
Yep.
confusion.
And that's what this space will be.
This is where my confusion stems, because Mark has been very good about forwarding information to me about the successes of the collaboratory. So all along, I've assumed that these people are doing these things someplace.
Yes.
And that there was already something set up.
Right, so
I didn't, you
our
know,
goal is
honestly,
to
I was
take everything.
confused about this.
Yeah.
Was this an expansion of space?
To take
or-
everything to the next level, so people will have a presence, they'll have a space to
So
call
so
their
where are
own.
they doing all of these?
So-
and
so,
really, there's some great
yeah,
things
yeah.
done between new jobs.
Just
and
think what we can do with the space now.
Yeah.
So right now we have a very dynamic group of what I would say matrix people helping us out. Consultants, we have one full-time staff that's leading this, plus my time and Ross Sanders. And we are working, we're holding events on campus, we're bringing businesses to campus, we're identifying those that we can work with, and going to their place of business primarily to work with them. And then also having some office hours on campus. But the struggle is that we don't really have a dedicated space, so we have to schedule rooms with and compete with classes and everything like that. So we have had some very good success in what I would say is a matrixed organization, or what Shelley referred to as virtual. This gives us a home, this gives us the landing spot to really be able to develop the community and bring the community to the Mark Plaza next door to the Michigan Works office here in Southfield, and really name it as a home for the accelerator. And the accelerator is the extension of the growth of the collaboratory in its physical space that will have co-working space, dedicated office space, technology labs that will bring in more and more companies to see what Southfield is like and be able to then move into other areas of Southfield.
Well, again, this is why I was confused, because first of all, I thought you took the grant. I didn't know that you didn't accept it.
So the grant was for $1.235 million, and the extenuating circumstances that the EDA required a 20-year mortgage on that whole building. And after Fred and I went to Chicago and talked with their attorneys, And after some several months of negotiation, it was determined that those terms were not acceptable, that would not, and so we declined that, and then based on that, we reduced the space. And so we have sort of the same, we have some of the same functionality in a smaller space, and we have room to grow. So there's, across the hall, there's 3,300 square feet of space that we were going to use that is not developed, and so as we are successful and we get additional funding, then we can expand into there.
Well, I'm not questioning the rationale for not taking the grant.
No, but just to give you background.
What I've gotten is in pieces, and so I thought the grant went through and you already had this money, and I know the university has the Marks building.
I apologize.
And we approved $1 million in November, so, and then you sent me these glowing things, and truly they're,
Yeah.
it's been great,
Yeah.
the things that have come out of it. So, okay,
So can I-
I just had a little misunderstanding.
Can I answer another question you had
Sure,
as
and I have
far
more questions.
as far as what Lawrence Tech is? So we paid $3.65 million for that building for Mark Plaza, and then we've done upgrades of over probably $750,000 to that property, in addition to the work at Southfield Michigan Works office. And then from a staffing standpoint, or from an administrative standpoint, we are going to be using our HR department and our accounts receivables and payables to help with the administration of the facility. So there's some additional sort of in-kind personnel costs that are going to be baked into that the arrangement there that we're going to be we're committed to for the next 15 years as well.
Well, I think anybody that's listening to this, the important thing is that we're trying to grow business.
Yes.
We're also, very important to us, is we're trying to keep talent here.
Absolutely.
Lawrence Tech has some amazing talent and the students that come out of this. And why we should be working to
Yep, absolutely.
absolutely keep them here rather than going to the West Coast or Texas or or something like that. And then obviously it's in our benefit because we are an office hub. So my last question really has to do with the governing board. Could you repeat that? I thought I
Sure.
heard 3 and 3.
That's correct.
So what if there's a tie?
We do have a wonderful relationship with the university, so we will have terms delineated so that there will be negotiations if
So-
necessary, but.
The rubber can hit the road.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so
We will make sure we can accomplish.
It goes up the scale,
Yeah.
goes to counselor, goes to university
Non-binding.
leadership, to be able to have some resolution.
Okay, Ms. Martin, Mrs. Zorn, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on the mayor, because I have not, this comment, I've not heard it yet. This is about getting new technologies to the marketplace at a quicker rate. All of the analysis we did on the other accelerators and that, there is no one else in Michigan focused on advanced manufacturing and taking a concept and helping an entrepreneur or an existing company, someone in perhaps a second stage, get there quicker. And this is all about growing our economy at a faster, more accelerated rate. And you're going to be hearing a lot more in the next, today there's a big conference, Automation Alley, on I-4, and the rate of change and how things are happening. This is all about speed and making it happen. There will be pieces of equipment and software that help make this happen. For example, earlier on, we looked at the aerospace industry in Michigan, an industry that's completely at risk because they're not keeping up with the new technology that the Europeans are using and that. And this is about making sure that those industries stay here in Michigan and hopefully in Southfield.
Okay, Mr. Morris, did you?
Yeah, I just wanted clarity on who and or what Centropolis is. Is that the city center board?
No, that is our smart zone. So that is a joint LDFA with the city of Troy. So when you look at our component units, that is the joint LDFA.
Okay, we've talked about that before, but I just wanted to make sure.
And that's the Southfield component of the joint LDFA, so we have a Southfield board that oversees that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I have one question. With respect to the, it says Smart Zone will have excess cash flow of 250,000. Is that still relevant? Is that still
That's
a good
correct.
number?
That's correct. So,
Okay.
you know, we
I remember
are
this came through
pleased
from
with
my
some of the
finance
new
committee.
companies that have moved into the district. So again, the district is around where the former Blue Cross Blue Shield properties is and where Federal Mogul is located. And so, Veoneer, or Autoliv as it was known, is building a new facility over there. That's been very helpful for us. Stefanini has put in a large office. The American Center, where Citizens Bank, that large complex is doing very well. So we've had some really nice success, and so that is relevant. And again, we're doing placemaking over in that area where Pebble Creek Park is to create a stronger sense of place, just like we've done at the City Center District. We realigned 11 Mile Road and put in enhancements along there, and we'll be creating some key entrance points into that area to really make it a definitive space.
Okay, very good. Mr. Zorman.
I've made no secret about it. We've also talked about looking, envisioning other opportunities for developing within that area. For example, the land that fronts along 696 in front of the old Blue Cross Blue Shield building. You're sitting on acres. Those of us who were out last week and saw the developments at the Oakland University Tech Park, there's a lot more opportunity where you could probably 30, 35, 40 acres of land that could be developed there to continue to grow the smart zone.
Okay. Ms. Ward, you have some comments?
So what I would do with that last sentence in the resolution is modify it so that it reads as follows. The use of Southfield funds for the build-out, for approved build-out activities shall not exceed $1 million. And then it's clear.
Yeah.
Should be less. The other thing that I think you're asking for, Shelley, that doesn't appear in the resolution is you're asking for mayor and clerk to sign something eventually.
That's correct.
So that doesn't ask that, so that should be modified to ask for approval for the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement, usually subject to the city attorney making sure that we've got everything, so. That's how I would amend the resolution that you'd be voting on tonight.
Okay. Is the council in agreement with that amendment as read by the attorney?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, this will look modified.
How many more times do I have to put my hand up for
I
you?
see. I see. Go, Mr. Frazier.
Okay, thank you. Can you clarify for me, other than the pride of developing this, what's in it for Lawrence Tech and the city of Southfield? For instance, if an entrepreneur goes in and discovers a new Amazon.com and makes $1 billion, does he say, thank you so much for giving me a chance, and moves to the West Coast?
We currently have a business plan that is in place that has different rates for people to rent space at this accelerator once it's completed. So as people are looking for a larger space, they'll be paying rent to our facility. And as we get this agreement together and our board together, we will be looking at other options to enable us to capture some of these, you know, if we make investments in a company, that we might be able to recoup some of that investment back to us, or to help with the commercialization of these projects. So that is a step that we're moving towards. I don't believe that the university takes an active role in the commercialization process at this time. Is that a question?
From a commercialization standpoint, we typically work with companies and they own the intellectual property and the patents. We get the research dollars from the research side of the university. Looking at, so you're talking about the benefits. We have this great synergy between Lawrence Tech and the research and the students that are there, the talent. We have Southfield Michigan Works office right there, again, a resource for talent. We have the accelerator space right there. And so when companies say, where do I go for a solution to a problem, they're coming to this. So it brings more and more people into the city. There is resources for student and more research to do that. And we grow academic programs, we attract more students, it adds value to the economy in Southfield. It employs people that are coming through Michigan Works. We are looking, most accelerators do not have a paid arrangement, like with clients paying them. We're looking at a paid arrangement, phasing that in, that dovetails into our business plan for sustainability. We are then going to be looking at how we secure positions and what the right venue, what the right vehicle is for securing positions for companies that are successful. There are terms and conditions that the state of Michigan has from the MEDC grant that we get that have certain limitations on them. About being able to do that, and so we would have to determine if that is just a royalty payment, if that is a part ownership, and we are planning to look at that over the next. Fred, Shelley, and I, and the staff at Lawrence Tech have had lots of discussions about this. It is a future development so that we can make sure that we share in the success of what we're doing.
So Mark, I don't know if you want to talk about the smart factory that's being developed at the university in conjunction with Siemens.
Yeah. So we have a really great working relationship with Siemens. A couple years ago, we received some $250 million worth of software for all of our engineering students. The president of Siemens Digital Factory is a Lawrence Tech alum. He recently was on campus, added another $75,000 to build out in our industrial engineering department, a smart manufacturing lab. The key here is that we end up having a real robust and strong academic side that has industry contacts, and then we have the accelerator, which is working more at the speed of business. And the whole goal here is that we help small businesses succeed. The large companies like Denso, Kamau, they want a really strong supply chain, and they don't want to go through what they went through in 2007 and 2008. So our goal is to not only help the startup companies, but to help the existing companies either diversify or adopt technology so that they are a strong contributor to the economy and a strong member of the supply chain going forward. And then it just makes Michigan a stronger place and Southfield a stronger place.
And I just want to add one more thing. Mr. Zorn referenced Industry 4.0 and Automation Alley just released a tech report about the state of our region. And Lawrence Tech is a real strong contributor towards this whole tech revolution, which is the emergence between machine and man. And so this smart factory that's being created at the university will help some of our small and mid-sized manufacturers get up to speed so that they can stay viable as the world evolves. So this will help them move into that next generation.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Council in agreement, this will move to consent with the amendment as identified by Mrs. Moore. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. We have a long agenda tonight, so I want the council to be aware that we have a lot of items to get through. And we intended for the first few to be the easiest one, and so I mean, that is not gonna happen. Okay, so we will move on to item number 3.
Good evening, everyone, Mr. Mayor and council. Our first item here, I've got Florence Cement Company is looking to come in and utilize a portion of the Northland Mall property for a temporary concrete batch plant. This is gonna be on the south side of the mall. This is the same location that they had staged in last year. Florence Cement is a subcontractor on both the I-696 project as well as a subcontractor on the city's northbound northwestern service drive project from Southfield to Lasser. They're planning to mobilize about the end of May and to use the property for about 3 months. So we do enter into a lease agreement with them, though there's not actually money exchanged in lieu of payment for usage of the property. Florence Cement will provide in-kind paving services at a location yet to be determined in the city. It can be on city-owned property or in our public rights-of-way. They do both concrete and asphalt work, actually, so whatever we need, they're willing to provide for us. This did go to the Northland Steering Committee the end of March, and just looking for council to approve this use as well, and we'll put it on the consent agenda if there's consensus.
Mr. Mandelbaum.
Do you have an idea for the in-kind
So
project?
it's approximately $3,000 a month, and I'm anticipating about $10,000. When we first talked about this duration, that was really before the Northwestern Service Drive project. So if they end up extending another month, then that's another $3,000 that we have.
Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what they're going to be? They're going to use that in-kind donation for the Northwestern project?
No,
Or what
no,
are they
that will
using it
be
for?
on our property wherever we need it, so it doesn't have to be in a public right-of-way. They, in the past, have done work on this campus, and just some spot concrete work here and there. They've done some asphalt mill and overlay over at the Mary Thompson farm. They've done work over at the DPW yard, so it's things like that. We keep an eye out for things, particularly things that would be general fund, which is our campus and our city-owned properties, to see what work we can get done.
Ms. Taylor.
How long do we have to use that in-kind service? Do we have a year, or is there a limit?
They'll typically just do it this construction season at some point.
So we have to come up with project plans. I was just trying to.
Yeah,
see
we
how
come
long.
up with the projects. It's, $9,000-$10,000 doesn't really take you very far when it comes to
No, but
paving,
that's the
so.
reason why I'm saying,
Yeah.
but that's why I'm saying you don't want it sitting around.
Right.
You wanna make a decision and get it
Yeah.
taken care of.
And then, right now, it's still a little bit early for the asphalt plants, so, a lot of that, they'll be looking to do some of our work probably when they've got truckloads coming for another project. So we're usually pretty flexible on our schedule, as long as, on this campus, we have more restrictions because of different events that we're holding here. So they work with us for our convenience and then their convenience so that we can get this work done.
I just don't want us to forget about it, because it's a
Oh,
smaller
yeah.
amount than what we're used to working with. And sometimes you can let it sit and then you forget all about it because you're over here doing these large projects. So I just
Yeah.
want to.
Thank you. I won't forget about free work.
Oh, okay.
All right, I think you've had good relationship with these individuals in the past, so.
Great.
All right, if that's it. I remind council that we operate under Robert's Rules of Order, and that the ritual of practice, I've been reminded of this by a very good authority, so that's why I bring it up. Because we will be having the lady come in again, and we haven't mastered these little things. We will get, you probably get a F. All right, moving on to number 4. That's you also, Nelly.
Yep, this is me as well. So MDOT has presented contract documents for our 11-mile road improvement project. This is from Bell Road to Arlington. Arlington being in section 15 east of Lasser, a few hundred feet. This work consists of pavement rehab of a concrete inlay from the I-696 off-ramp, which is just west of Lasser Road, all the way east to Arlington. So concrete inlay means the curbs stay in place. The existing concrete pavement will all come out, and then new concrete pavement put back. The Lasser Road intersection will be gapped out entirely, as that was repaved in 2012. Can't believe it was that long ago, but 2012 by the road commission. And then from the I-696 off-ramp to the west to Bell Road, that's gonna be reconstructed in asphalt. It's gonna be widened from 2 lanes to 3 lanes, and we are getting rid of the gravel shoulders and installing concrete curbs in that stretch. Project is expected to begin in June and anticipated to be complete by November 2018. We've got $1.18 million in federal funds, and the Southfield share comes to approximately $2.3 million. So this is just under a $3.5 million investment, an 11-mile road here.
Okay. Seeing no dissent, this will move on. Thank you. I think you have the next item, please.
Yes. MDOT has also presented contract documents for 9-mile road and bridge. This is the road between Telegraph and Lasser, and the 9-mile road bridge over the Evans branch of the Rouge River. This bridge replacement, most notably, will be put back 8 feet higher than the existing bridge. This is to reduce the vertical curve of the road to improve sight distances. That's to meet current design standards for road designs. That's a big safety improvement, so that will be nice to see that move forward. The bridge will include an 8-foot sidewalk on both sides, although the south side really is just there for future use, as we don't currently have sidewalk on the south side of 9-mile road. The road itself is going on a road diet. So it's an existing 5-lane road that's going down to 3 lanes. The traffic volumes have allowed this, although we still maintain the existing cross-section at the major controlling intersections at Telegraph and again at Lasser. So it allows us to not lose our level of service as we reduce the paving lanes for the in-between parts. Our pavement rehabilitation consists of 2 inches of stone. We put that right on top of that existing concrete pavement and then pave 5.5 inches of asphalt on top of that. Raising the road that several inches means all of the curbs come off. It's all new curb and gutter. And of course, with the road diet, we would need all new curb and gutter anyway. This is new driveways also because of the grade change as well. And then we do have some areas where the road will be totally reconstructed. Of course, adjacent to the bridge, because that bridge deck is coming up 8 feet. We've got a couple hundred feet each side of the bridge. And then at the Lasser end and at the Telegraph end, just to meet the existing grades, those also need to be totally reconstructed. We have utility work, some related to the bridge replacement, includes replacing 200 feet of 16-inch water main that has to be relocated for the location of the new bridge abutments. And then there's an existing 36-inch sanitary interceptor that's a county sewer that is going to run right under our new bridge abutment, so that has to be encased in concrete. Doing our due diligence in the design process, we now televise all the existing storm system and sanitary system, and we found 550 feet of 10-inch sanitary sewer, that's city sewer under the roadway, that we're going to be removing and replacing. It was found to be in very poor condition, and since we're doing the road in this area anyway, now's the time to do it, make sure we've got good utilities under this new pavement. Our schedule, construction altogether is going to be from June 2018 to June 2019. So the biggest thing with this bridge, the bridge starts right away, that closes 9-mile of course, and 10-mile will be the posted detour. You'll see barricades up at both Lasser and Telegraph. It'll be soft closure at those major intersections, of course, so that people can access the homes and businesses that are along that corridor. And then it's what we consider a hard closure once you get closer to that bridge area. So everyone will need to know which end to come from to get to their properties there. So when we get to November, at the end of this construction season, not all of the bridge work is going to be 100% complete. So we will be opening the road to 2 lanes of traffic, but there's going to be concrete barriers on the road. It's going to be 1 lane in each direction. open for the winter, and then in the spring, typically mid-April, the contractor will recommence their work and will complete the bridge work, as well as some paving of the top layer right close to the bridge area. This will all be done under two-way traffic, so there will be no more detours in the 2019 construction season. And then the funds. So we've got $4.73 million in outside funds, mostly federal funds, and then local bridge funds from the state of Michigan. This total construction cost, including the construction engineering and contingencies, is $8.15 million. Southfield's anticipated share of this is approximately $3.4 million.
Mr. Munderbaum.
When you do complete road closures, do you alert public safety services so they know, so like the fire department's not trying to drive down 9 miles?
Absolutely. Even when we have roads just under construction with lane closures, that is part of the daily notification with lane closures is to call into dispatch each morning so that they know. When it's a full closure, a lot of times it's more simple. You just tell them it's closed. As long as dispatch is aware of that, then they can direct public safety accordingly. We work with community relations to put out press releases and contact the media and make sure that we spread the word. There will be signage up, of course, directing people how to get around the closure.
Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, the south side of the bridge, you say you're gonna put a sidewalk in just across the bridge based on future potential setup. Really? Do you ever imagine that they were gonna put sidewalk on the south side? The topography doesn't even support that. Pardon? Even if the road is narrow, when you go west where the guy has a swimming pool, it's 100 feet down from the road, there's not a show, even if you narrow the road, there's really not enough room to put a sidewalk.
Yeah, which is part of the reason we did not include sidewalk with this project on the south side. We couldn't get additional funding to help us pay for it. It would be a very expensive sidewalk because it would include excessive retaining walls and such so that you had that open space. And right now with the Plum Hollow Golf Course is about a half a mile of that south side, and they've got no openings to get into the golf course from the 9 mile side. But who knows, 60 years from now, maybe something else happens on that property and we would require a sidewalk be installed across the frontage at that time.
So in the meantime, that sidewalk deteriorates. I mean, I'm saying, why spend the money to do it? If they're gonna do it in 60 years, let them build the sidewalk in 60 years.
Because it's part of the bridge structure right now. So we have to, the bridge design would have been different if we weren't doing a sidewalk right there. We would have shortened up the bridge on that south side, and there would not have been room to put a sidewalk in for the next 100 years that we have that bridge there.
Okay, I still don't. I don't agree. I only 107 votes, but anyhow, I agree with everything else. The concrete barriers are going to be down to 2 lanes. How are they going to plow snow over those concrete barriers?
So they will plow through. I mean, they'll just have to carry that, follow that concrete barrier on the sides as if it's a curb line, and then get it off the edge of the curb once they pass that bridge area.
Okay. Did you talk to Larry about that?
No, not much choice. They're good at working with us, those guys. They don't always like it. They didn't like the idea of our roundabouts either, but now they've mastered the art of plowing a roundabout, so.
Okay.
All right,
I guess.
everybody agree this will move on to consent? If so, then next item is the Cisco switches.
Good evening. My name is Laverne Laurie. I'm the Technology Services Director. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Clerk, and the Treasurer's in the back. Saw him. Okay, so the item today is receipt of proposals for Cisco switches, voice router technology infrastructure upgrades. So this is a normal maintenance upgrade In 2008, your honorable body authorized $800,000 of investment of equipment. We're just leveraging the same equipment that we purchased back then. In 2016, you authorized $160,000. So today, this is the rest of the equipment. It includes areas in the police department, Beechwoods, fire stations 1, 2, 3, and 4, and other locations. In total, I'm asking to replace over 20 pieces of equipment. What this will do will allow our computers to be faster. It'll allow for gigabit telephones. We've replaced a lot of those phones throughout the city already. This item did go out to bid February 7th, 2018. 39 vendors responded and 2 submitted pricing. We are asking for $173,525 total with a 10% contingency of $15,775. This particular item does have 3 lots. We are recommending that all 3 lots go to Sentinel Technologies Incorporated of Ann Arbor, Michigan for the not to exceed amount. Lot 1 is for hardware, and that is for the 24 pieces of equipment that I have. And lot 2 is for Cisco voice hardware replacements and software upgrades for $27,540. Lot 3 is for software updates and hardware that is not defined in lot 1 for $3,200. This item was reviewed, this item is actually being requested to go on the consent agenda of the next item. The fiscal impact is pretty much what I just stated, asking for $173,525 for all 3 lots to be awarded to Sentinel Technologies, Inc. of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and with the contingency included. We're also asking for the purchasing department to have the ability to auction and or dispose of the existing equipment. All this equipment is end of life. They all end of July, end of August, so they will no longer be supported by Cisco. And we are asking, there is no agreement for this one, so that's pretty much it. Are there any specific questions?
Mr. Fakasi.
Yeah, what year's budget is this money out of? Because we usually have a cutoff point where we don't spend any money until a new budget.
This is in fiscal year 18, our existing fiscal year, 17, 18,
Well,
the current.
mentioned 2 previous ones, I didn't know.
That's
what
already
this
been spent. I was just letting you know what had already been paid for in the past. So in 2018, we paid $800,000. That's for the overhaul. That's for the entire replacement.
Let's say 127,000 for.
Where do you see 127,000?
Recommendation.
The recommendation is for $173,525
Yeah.
total.
173, 127.
That's a breakdown.
Oh, lot
Yeah,
1. Okay, yeah.
breakdown, but I'm saying-
That's the breakdown.
Yeah, when do we cut off? The budget comes out next week, 2 weeks, the first
Well, I
reading
think-
in May. When is the budget cut off?
You mean as far as issuing a purchase order?
Well, there's always been a policy, and nobody comes at the end of the budget year and starts throwing stuff on the.
Well, these items will be received before the fiscal year ends. That's why I'm coming before you today in
Yeah,
April.
I understand that.
Okay.
I understand that. I'm just saying that there's a cutoff time when we got so many expenditures on this last day of we got, budget comes out first, council meeting in May, is that correct? By charter?
But it doesn't start till the 1st of July.
I know that, yeah, but we usually have a cutoff because the
I know, I think
budget is
purchasing
in our
cuts-
hands.
Yeah, but if this was budgeted for this year, some is front
That's what
loaded,
I'm asking.
some is front loaded, some is
If the
back
money's
loaded.
there, or it's in
I
this.
think the attorney has
I
an
don't
answer
know,
here.
you cut off, before we get the budget in our hands, there's a cutoff.
Right, well, through
There's been-
the chair,
Yeah.
we generally, by the end of August, we'll get something from finance saying, this is the cutoff for the prior fiscal year. And you can't, bring additional
Yeah.
expenses so it's generally around the end of August that you've gotta get everything for that prior fiscal year.
Yeah.
So you would be within that time frame.
Correct. Hardware has to be received on the premise by June 30th, 2018. And professional services, that's the portion that you have. Any type of professional services
Have a budget
can.
come at us in May. that is balanced, this money has to be in last year's or this year's budget.
Mhm.
That's what I'm asking, is it in this year's budget?
Yes.
Or is this in the budget that we're gonna be handed for?
It's in this year's
for
budget.
This is this year's budget.
This year's budget.
Okay,
Right.
I just see there's all this money flying out of here, you know, and before we get the new budget, I'd like to just keep track.
Okay.
Any
If
other
there are no
questions?
additional questions, this item will also go to the consent agenda. Yes, thank you. You're dealing with the next one too?
The next item.
The
Michael, did you
website.
want to come here too, or you?
Website redevelopment
So we
services.
use up the money.
All right, the next item is about the website. I guess we did a great design with our website in 2008 because we're still using it today, 10 years later. But the Community Relations Department and Technology Services were recommending a complete redevelopment of the website. It's going to improve security, usability, availability, and aesthetics. Tech Services, we're responsible for hosting hardware, the content management system, support, and other areas of security. Community Relations, they're responsible for the content approval, and overall aesthetics and branding. So this is a joint project between Tech and Community Relations. We would like to move it to a cloud solution for redundancy and availability of uptime. As you all may recall, our website was down for a couple of days. We don't want that to ever happen again. The solution that we're proposing will allow us to put it in that manner where we will have redundancy and it will reduce any type of risk like that occurring in the future. This item is for a not to exceed amount of $30,000. We have $12,500 for website migration to the cloud solution, and also for $12,000, $500 for graphic design and content migration. Michael Mannion and I will bring the new website design back before you before we launch it. Our anticipated date is to have it ready for you before September 2018. But before anything is launched, we would like to, for your permission, bring it back before you so you can see the design and see what was selected before the launch. We have asked for $5,000 contingency just in case Michael wants to add something, or maybe the body sees something at the last minute that we want to tweak. We can go back and tweak it before the actual launch.
Whose budget is this coming out of?
This is coming out of Technology Services budget, and it is in this fiscal year.
And then the 5,000 you're talking about from community relations?
No, the entire budget is coming out of my budget. The $5,000 is just contingency, just in case when we get to the design portion of it, that we want something other than what we have already
And this is in
anticipated.
the present budget?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor, you had a question?
Yes. The web design, have we looked at current employees to see if they could do that rather than sending this out?
To do,
The web design.
well, actually, we had already started a mock-up of a design in 2016, and we're gonna just use that design. That we did have a committee of internal people as well, but we're using a new content management system. It's called Drupal. It's an open, I don't wanna get too technical, but it's just a new content management system that even our staff is gonna have to get trained on. So no one internally can do what we're trying to do here, to answer your question.
It's a more secure environment through the chair. It's a more stable environment for us, and it will also allow us to do more advanced design technology. So we'll be able to bring it up to modern standards, going to what's called responsive web design. And it's similar to what you're seeing. Most websites are going that direction now. So it will be a more stable environment. It will allow us to do a lot more in terms of the design aesthetics, and then we'll of course tie that into city branding. So
If you look at our website right now on your mobile phone or a tablet, I would want you to, because it's not responsive. And this is gonna make us more modern, just by us doing this item right here.
And I agree, I don't like the way the website is either, but I just think that we have some talent for this currently in our Table 15 Media Center. Because there are some people with web design.
Well, this particular item though, it only includes 10 more hours, because we already have the designs pretty much
But my question, we're paying money for something where we already have an employee that can do it.
Okay, I have no idea what talent Cable 15 has with regard to this. My department has a web services administrator in my department, and he probably could do something like this, but we've already invested the time in doing it. So this particular item is not really for the redevelopment. It only includes 10 hours of that, and that's what Michael's gonna finish the design.
Right. And to
So
further.
even if we remove that, it would be a whole complete project from what I'm presenting to you today.
Right, and perhaps you're thinking maybe of like the MLK Task Force website that Cable had done, which turned out very nice for a small, compact microsite. The city's website is far more involved than that. I mean, we've got so many databases in there. It's far more complicated than a simple design site. I mean, any number of staff in community relations or tech services could do a site similar to what you saw there. But this site is so many more pages and vastly much more information. When you get into the database issues, it's far more involved than a typical microsite. So those smaller sites you're thinking perhaps are what's called a microsite, which is something you can do in Weebly or any number of design editors. And any of us could put those together in a matter of hours. They're templates they're used. So this is far more advanced than that.
Will this allow those kinds of websites that we do, like for Taste of Southfield, for those kinds of things? Will this allow for that? Because if we have the talent and we're using them, now you're gonna take that away.
When you say will it allow for that, do you mean will we link to those websites?
Well, I mean, somebody's designing them now, and you're saying you're not gonna use that talent. But those people will still come and say, can you design Taste of Southfield or Martin Luther King or whatever, I don't know. Will they be able to use this equipment, or will this equipment allow their website?
I understand your question. You're asking, will they be able to use the content management solution that we're presenting right now? And Cable 15 has always been a part of our website designs in the past. But as Michael mentioned, I don't know what specifically you're talking about as far as the website, but this is building it from the ground up. We're not using any templates. We're not using any vendors, content management system. We're using the open source and we're building on it ourselves. So we're making it more robust for us. We have, like he mentioned, I don't know how many databases are out there, but it's a lot more complicated than, like my son built a website in 30 minutes for his company. He's 19, but it took him 30 minutes. We're not trying to do that. We're building something on a much larger scale. And I'm not trying to disregard what Cable 15 did because I haven't seen it myself, but I'm just saying this item is totally separate from those type of websites. But I understand what you're saying. Yes, they can. When we finish this website, if Cable 15 wants to, they have to be trained.
Or anybody. I'm not saying just Cable 15. I just know.
Any city employee.
Right, because you have requests for other things. Just like, for instance, we looked on the website for the 60th anniversary, and it was not there.
That's right.
So there's different things that I even send people to the website for. So it will be interactive, or are you saying that this is gonna just be the entire website for the city and everything is gonna go through this particular?
No, I'm not saying that. I guess, how can I say this? Trying to be politically correct.
You can.
No, I'm just saying that content is separate. Okay, I'm tech, so each department head is responsible for content. So if you're missing something on the website, that's still separate from Michael and I. We wait for the departments to put their information out, and this particular system, it goes through an approval queue. So let's just say I'm Cable 15, if I want to update something, it goes through approval, and then it goes to Michael, and Michael reviews the content, and then it goes live. We don't want every city employee to be able to put something live to our website without a check and balance.
Understood.
So, but if I'm saying if you're missing something from the website, it's not because of this project, it's because, I'm not trying to throw out our department heads, but the department heads are ultimately responsible for the content for their area. Because I would know that.
Okay.
Michael would know,
Okay.
Well, he would for the anniversary.
And of course, the 60th information was on the web, so I don't know where you're referring to there, but.
I had trouble finding it too.
Yeah.
Well, after the event expires, it goes away, but it was almost 2,000 views on the press release, so.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about the press release. This was before that, and it was not on the website at all.
Well, I mean, it was.
Afterwards, you put it on there. I'm not gonna.
Okay, either it was or it wasn't, so, you okay, Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Cruz, go ahead.
I was wondering with this new website, I don't know if this applies here, is it gonna be like a portal for residents when they go in there where they can kind of custom their homepage or something to like the different links that they like to go to normally? I mean, is it gonna be a way to kind of custom that?
Yeah, like making favorites.
Yeah, I guess, we could, we use it in colleges, doesn't have, they call it portals, so students can kind of custom their pace, and when they go in, it has all the stuff like their major, this and that, and everything that's germane to them. I was wondering.
Right, but they're actually logging in, and actually, if you want to answer, I was gonna answer. Okay, so what I'm gonna do later, we launched Office 365, and it does have a portal where you have an extranet for the public and an extranet for the city. We have not gotten around to doing anything like that, but what you're talking about, they're actually logging in. This right here is just the public website. There's no login, there's no security behind it except for the back end for the employees. There's nothing for the residents in this. That's a whole another project I haven't gotten around to. It's on the list.
Mr. Frazier?
Yeah, for those websites that Ms. Taylor was talking about, assuming one of those gets corrupted, do you have a firewall so that it doesn't impact the city's website?
The websites, I have no idea where, those websites have nothing to do with the city. I don't know where they're
No,
hosted.
they don't have anything to do with the city.
Right.
But the city should, will they have a link so that you can link to them?
Yes, if it's requested and it's a city event, it can be on this particular cityofsouthfield.com and link to it. But you were asking if it was corrupted?
Yeah,
We don't have no control over that.
But do you protect the cities?
What do you mean, the city's website? Oh, yes, definitely, yes.
So they can't come in and
It's just the
hold
links.
us ransom for,
Oh, that's just the link, so it has it links to wherever they're hosting that particular
it won't
website.
come back.
It will not impact.
It would not impact the city.
No, and I understand your question.
All right. I think that is all. Is anyone in agreement that this will move on to consent agenda?
And we'll come back before you, of course, to show you.
Hold one second.
Oh, they're through?
Yeah, no, wait a minute. Did you have a question?
Not on this.
Oh, okay.
I'm on 8.
Okay. All right, well, we will be, this will go on to consent. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 8 was postponed.
For what reason?
They're going to take a look at.
John Grace
Yes.
furniture?
Yes. It's
Yeah,
under,
but, you know, we spent $2 million to redo a building, and we're gonna get used furniture in there. Does it make sense? May not fit, may not, whatever. I mean, if it works out, I guess, but why spend all that money for a new building and put used stuff in it?
I think we had a brief discussion about it, and I was pretty much where you are, Mr. Picasso, but I think we got word back that someone took a look at some furniture, and they thought some of it was usable. So given that particular input from the department, it was just prudent for us to go ahead and suspend this for a while.
I think it all should be.
I agree. But this is what they wanted.
I mean, against
Somebody took a look at something.
$400,000 for a pole, you
Right.
put furniture in it.
I agree. But this is what,
And
this is
if I
what
may,
we got.
Chairman, we're gonna evaluate it, there may be some items that we go ahead and purchase within my spending authority under the 10,000, and take a look at it, the chairs and that, but we're gonna take an earnest look at what is at John Grace, what can be salvaged if it makes sense, and if not, we'll be back in front of council.
This is one of those decisions that will.
I got the message from the mayor about John Grace.
I guess they
My
wanted to
2
do
cents.
additional due diligence, I guess. All right, we will go on to item number 9.
Good evening, council. Parks and Recreation is here requesting authorization to replace the fitness equipment at Beechwood Recreation Center. We looked at 4 different companies with purchasing. They're all under the cooperative contracts. We took a look at a number of items, the appropriate combination and the type of fitness equipment. And by the way, I think he's still here. Chris Riley did all the homework and legwork and work with purchasing, so he's also here tonight in case there's any questions that he can answer. But we took a look at a combination of available features to the equipment, the maintenance and safety of the equipment, and the types of fitness needs for our individuals, our community members. Looked at 4 different companies. Precor, nationally recognized company. We're looking at purchasing $64,910 worth of equipment. However, it was recommended that we buy the extended 3-year warranty of parts and maintenance. So it comes to $69,740. I believe I spoke about fitness equipment before. We had talked about leasing it. We worked with the finance department, Austin Michaels, who worked with us a little bit on that. If we were to finance that for 3 years or pay that lease for 3 years, we pay $8,000 in interest, and the equipment wouldn't be ours. So it was a smarter move for us with Austin's assistance to recommend that we purchase the equipment. So that's what we are here tonight to do.
Mr. Frazier?
Yeah, the equipment is gonna be used by people of all ages and capabilities. And I used to be a member of it. And one of the pieces of equipment we had over there was the rowing machine. The rowing machine was sitting on the floor, and I know it was very difficult. Pardon?
Couldn't get up.
That's right.
That's right.
But it was a piece of equipment that should be used for strength and agility. My question is when you get done, is the equipment going to be installed in a way that people that have limited capabilities for motion, getting up and down, are still going to be able to use it? In other words, are you going to have the rowing machine still sitting on the floor?
I don't know specifically to the rowing machine sitting on the floor, but I can tell you that within the bids, we asked for a design. So the design takes into account the usability of the equipment, where it's spaced, and the effectiveness of people getting on and off the equipment. So I would imagine, this is just me, and maybe Chris can help out a little bit more, because I can't answer your question specifically, other than I would think that they would take in inclusion into the design and the layout of that equipment, so people are getting on and off the equipment and where it's at and where it's placed. That was part of our request.
Okay.
Might not be a big deal for other folks, just to set equipment to places. To me, that would be overwhelming. Where I put my rowing machine, where I put my treadmill, all of that, I would have believed that would be a professional decision on their part. So, and we do have the design of that.
Okay, I'm not as concerned about the location physically around the room as it is the
Getting
height.
on and off the equipment.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think that would be part of that design though. But we can certainly ask about that.
I know there are some pieces of equipment that are just designed so that you can get on and off.
Sure, easier than not.
Chris is in the room, can answer that question.
I'm not a fitness expert, but it's my understanding that the rowing machines can typically lay on the floor, and that's so people don't fall off of them and get hurt. But there are machines that we are getting that are going to have similar, exercises available that you can stand and use. In terms of Cybex equipment, it won't be Cybex, it'll be Precor, but standing machines that will have similar range of motions and exercises you can do while standing or sitting on a bench. So it may not be a rowing machine per se, but it's my understanding, and like I said, I'm not an expert, but it's my understanding rowing machines do lay on the floor.
Well, yeah, they do, but
I'm not aware of a raised one. Yeah, I'm not aware of a platform model, but
well,
we can certainly
you
we can
got
certainly
a couple number of people that make it.
we can certainly inquire. Yes, we can. Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, because I think everyone has the right to be able to use whatever equipment's in there.
Absolutely.
If there's a possibility.
It would defeat the purpose of mobility issues and being able to do therapeutic exercise as well as wellness and fitness exercise. So I would imagine they would have an interest for us, and we could follow up on that for
Okay.
sure.
Right? If you don't know, if you don't ask.
Absolutely. And I'm not gonna make it up, so I'm gonna ask.
That's it, Mr. Frazier?
Yep.
Mr. Madden?
Through the chair. Just housekeeping note, on the agenda though, it still says lease the equipment. I know that we changed, the write-up says purchase, but
Uh-huh.
just the agenda still says lease.
Oh,
I know that was a change.
sure,
so.
thank you.
Ms. Morris,
What will the operating hours be for the new facility, and will there be someone there, always, will it always be staffed with someone that can, assist, residents if they're not sure on how to use a piece of equipment?
Yeah, we've always had it staffed 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., except on Sundays and weekends, we do have a little bit more limited hours, just because we didn't have that many users that late at night. So I think we went till 4 o'clock on Saturdays and 10 to 2 on Sundays.
So is that the new schedule?
That was what we've had in the past. If we start seeing increases in
Right.
usage, we will adjust those hours accordingly.
Absolutely, so we're not going to change anything from before as far as hours, except to be aware of new equipment, new building, new users. So we may have to adjust that, especially on the weekends, if we find the need. It would be like any other service that we offer. We have to be fiscally responsible. If we don't have a lot of users coming into an arena or coming into one of our facilities, we adjust staffing and sometimes hours. But if we have the need and we hear the need, we will definitely make some adjustments. It's part of evaluating our services all the time. And I think that it's a good point and that we'll be doing that. Absolutely.
And the representative has said he's gonna come in and do a training with the staff to let them know how to use the pieces of equipment, so.
And I'm
we should
sorry,
be-
I forgot to say that as well. And that's a really big deal, safety and how to use the equipment.
Thank you.
Mr. Cruz, did you, Ms. Taylor?
A question. Where are the funds coming from? I see that you're transferring from one to the other. So where's the funds gonna come from?
We're going into our fund balance for the equipment.
So our general fund is gonna be giving you the money for this?
Our fund balance from Parks and Recreation.
But my understanding that was over budgeted or something, you're spending more money out of that than you have. So I guess my question is, and it would help me is if I
Sure.
had balances. I don't know, from what I remember hearing, the fund, you didn't have enough funds in.
We didn't go into fund balance last year, if that's what is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I was just concerned because I don't know what the fund balance is. And maybe that should be a question through to you, Fred. I don't know.
Mr. John?
If I may, when this item was originally put up, and there's been a reference to it was originally structured as a lease, with lease payments coming out this year and next year. In next year's budget, there's a line item amount budgeted, but as we were going through the matter on Tuesday of last week, in preparation for Thursday's meeting, it was decided that it was more advantageous if the city structured this as a purchase. So what happened was, you actually will have, in the budget that's prepared for Parks and Rec, there is a line item for this equipment, but in order for to expedite the transaction this year, we're proposing to take that money out of their fund balance. And they do have a fund balance. I don't have my CAFR with me. The last couple of years, they've actually beat and have outperformed their original budgeted structure. So that's the evolution of what happened between Tuesday and when we looked at it, finance and even the treasury department weighed in and said, you know, perhaps we should structure it this and this way instead of financing the money. So we're gonna finance it ourselves.
All right, someone did a lease versus purchase analysis, and that is where that came out.
That's correct.
All right.
So that means you're gonna put money back next
Well,
year? Or no?
when next year's budget's approved, that instead of it, technically it won't come out of their fund balance, it will just stay there.
But you're not gonna put any money back to the
No.
fund balance, right? Okay.
But we won't be expending the amount either.
I understand, okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, everyone else, this will move on to the consent agenda. The next item we're dealing with is the purchase of mowers and turf sprayer.
Thank you, Council. Ask Kapchonic is here from Park Services. We're requesting to purchase 2 mowers and a sprayer. We have worked with administration and with public service. All three pieces of equipment have come to their official life cycle. We've had a lot of repairs on the sprayer. The two mowers have all gone past their 10-year cycle. We will have those at some satellite parks. We may get another season out of them. After that, we'll send them to auction. All three pieces of equipment for the two mowers are through a contract, as well as the third. The sprayers through the national IPA contract. And our request is that we would purchase them for this year's budget.
Any questions, council? All right, seeing no questions, this will move on to the consent agenda. Any proposed use of Metro Act funds? Oh, okay, Mr. Taylor.
I'm asking that this next item be postponed. And the reason I'm asking that is, in the finance committee, we were talking about the Red Pole Park, and we had several questions that we were waiting for an answer for the next meeting, and we have not gotten those. So I would prefer, and I'm asking council to go along with me, that you pull this item until you can come to the finance committee and let us get our questions answered, and then we can bring this back.
Okay. All right. Okay, we should have a discussion on this. Mr. Crowe, are there any penalties or gigantic downsides to postponing this item?
If you just keep giving me a couple minutes, the one thing that we were trying to take advantage of, this project was already awarded to WCI. They've already started the work. All the surveying work has been done. And we were trying to take advantage of their mobilization and their startup so that we're not paying for it twice. This project was awarded as a phase one with the possibility that we would raise additional funds and come back and revisit it at some time. And then the Metro Fund Act was identified as possibly paying or actually extending the scope of the project so that we could get more done now, whether out there doing their surveying work, their traffic control, their mobilization, and identifying underground utilities. So by delaying the discussion or even the authorization, we would probably lose that window of opportunity where it makes sense. If even a few weeks is going to delay the project. The poles are being painted right now. They might be starting to be installed as soon as next week. And we wanted the opportunity to see that if we could move forward with this, we would amend the contract and not lose some time and money on the job. And if you could just give me a couple minutes just to show you the scope, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And then if you decide that you want to postpone it, then we'll just move forward with, the phase that's already been awarded.
Okay, let me just progressively. Ms. Taylor, what are the questions that finance committee wanted to tell us?
I did not bring the questions with me. I just know that we had several questions, and that's why we postponed it. I think that it is, and I'm gonna just say how I feel about it. I think it's a little disrespectful not to answer our questions when we asked. We're doing the job that you're asking us to do. And just, I don't know when this, first of all, I don't even know what the mental act funds numbers are because I haven't seen that on the budget anywhere. I was looking to see what that was. But when we were given the job to ask these questions, and when we asked for the questions to be answered, no one mentioned any of this to us, that we had the timeline or what have you, that this needed to be expedited in some way. So our questions, I did not bring them with me because we had numerous. But I just feel like the process is not being followed for whatever reasons. And I know that things come up and circumstances come up, but even if that was the case, if someone had just contacted the finance committee and said, hey, we're gonna put this on because of this. We will get you your questions, we will answer this, but this is the reason why we need this, and that wasn't done. So this was quite a surprise when I looked through the packet and saw this. And honestly, I felt like it was a little insulting. It was like, okay, you had these questions, but so what? This is what we need.
Mrs. Zorn, you have an answer.
Yes, I'd like to give council context of this. The last finance committee, under the purchasing section, the Red Pole Park was one of the items on the agenda. During that meeting and the implementation and the timeline of the Red Pole Park, one of the things I realized was a possible funding source was the Metro Act funds. These are monies that can only be spent within our right-of-ways. The task was given to our purchasing agent to come back and to bring the item back to the finance committee, but recognizing that we don't have a meeting until our next meeting is basically May 21st, and that this item has already been out to bid with part of it to go out to award. Part of this is simply about taking advantage of the economies of mobilization and not having to mobilize this project 1, 2, and 3 steps. Every time we turn around the stretch of Northwestern Highway, someone else is laying another set of fiber. That means every time we've got to have it surveyed, we've got to have people out there. So that's what took this to an accelerated pace, but the Councilwoman Taylor, as chairperson of the Finance Committee, was correct that purchasing was to come back and to go through, but it was happening a lot quickly. Even the topic that night was not on the agenda. There were a number of items that came up in the purchasing portion of the Finance Committee, all pertaining to art and the uniqueness of some of these art transactions. So it certainly was not meant to slight the committee. When I talked to Terry when I spoke to our planner after the Finance Committee, I simply offered him another way to possibly cobble another funding source to get this project done sooner. And this is, frankly, every time staff has to stop, drop, or mobilize one of these projects, it takes more time and resources. So it's only meant to way to accelerate it. These are dollars that we sometimes struggle to spend because of the uniqueness of what they can be spent on. So it certainly was not meant to be a slight in any way, but more about getting the job done. So we're not mobilizing for a second time.
Mr. Fakasi.
Purchasing wasn't even at the meeting, and there were questions, it was doubled in price, and we tried to get some information, nobody yet was there, and you, I'm sorry, were sick, and so you couldn't answer anything, so we were like, and Lenny's right, we couldn't get anything, any information, and we had a long agenda anyway because of the audit. So, and I agree with Lenny that, I don't know, I know that you don't like to postpone things, but when something doubles in price, was 200,000 to 400,000, and you just gotta know, and you're doing the audit the same meeting.
All right, let's try
Then you close your pocketbook quick.
Okay, let's quantify this for a minute. What is the potential cost if we delay this?
Well, first of all, I also will echo Mr. Zorn. There was never any intention to slight anybody. I did follow up with the purchasing agent and informed her that we would have this on the study session so we could discuss any open questions. So, again, it was our wanting to take advantage of the mobilization out there. If I could just spend 2 minutes, I think I can better explain the project.
Okay,
And then if you want to table
important
this
enough to
from
go ahead
consent,
and-
that's fine.
All right.
Again, this is just the overall vision of the design to remind the council. Phase 1 was always going to be a partial build, dependent upon the money that we had raised. $100,000 grant, $55,000 fundraising was $105,000. The city center put up another $100,000+ for a total project budget of $220,000, including contingencies. That's what was awarded. We were happy that that would pay for 50% of the project, which is substantial enough. If you've gone out there recently, the stakes are in the ground that identify where the poles are, and it's a large enough project to get scale. But when we looked at the potential of the Metro Fund and those poles that are actually in the right-of-way, we could put in additional 18 poles or get from 50% to 2/3 or 66% of the project. And eligible costs within the right-of-way is about $95,000. So that helps us to expand the overall budget and the scale of the project, as opposed to coming back. So all of the unit prices that were bid in the original bid proposal would be honored on a proportionate scale. But to remobilize, to put the traffic engineering, to put the new surveying work and the layout, you're basically paying double for that percentage of the job if it's delayed. But this project's moving forward as awarded, and this week was about the window to take advantage of their mobilization, their scale, and their scheduling. The other thing is all the subcontractors and the general contractor thought that they could fit this into their window of schedule now, whereas delaying it might mean that it's done later this fall or even next year. So that's it in a nutshell. And again, we thought that the eligible costs that could be charged to work specifically in the right-of-way equated to about $95,000, which translates in an additional 18 poles to the 47 that are going to be installed, which extends the scope of the project.
Ms. Morris?
Terry, a few weeks back, I sent you a community improvement grant as it relates to, I thought you could use it for Redpole Park, but was it not a fit? I was waiting to hear back from you.
Yeah, and we're still investigating it, but the timing didn't work at this point. It might be eligible for some future use.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for phase 2?
Possibly for phase 2. And quite honestly, when we're working on the budget for the city center for next fiscal year, we've made a multi-year commitment to help fund the pathway at Lawrence Tech. And we've made a multi-year commitment to support the Northwestern Highways construction, where we're adding on to the city engineer's budget for sidewalk improvements. So we don't have that extra money that we thought we might have had. So phase 2 would be more longer term than what I was hoping that it would come in right on the heels of phase 1. And that's why we wanted to try to take advantage of these funds.
Oh, thank you.
Mrs. Picasso?
Yeah, Jerry, I walked over there and looked at that, and something just hit me. The property is undeveloped. Are we earning the development of whatever goes on that corner? How are you gonna get access?
Well, if you
So it's gonna be like,
recall the Noah's Venue Center
Yeah.
is being built there. They have
Yeah.
access from the internal drive. They are actually building an 8-foot pathway to connect into our pathway. And we've been working closely with the owner developer. Any access would come off of their internal road network and not Northwestern Highway.
yeah, but that would be, if it was a large development, if you really had a large development, you'd want access to the especially. You'd want to come to the service drive.
Well, this is, in scope, this is about 150 feet. So there are other access points, but I don't believe that the city engineer would support additional curb cut on Northwestern because there are 2 internal roads that all the property can be accessible from.
Okay, is that it, Mrs. Picasso?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Taylor?
I don't want to prolong this because I think it's another problem that we have. We promised other people that we would be out there and we're not. That's part of the problem. we thought that this was fully funded from contributions or whatever else, the pole part, and with matching funds. But then we find out that the city has to pay certain amounts of money, and we were just trying to get some kind of clarity on things before we make a decision to go this way or that way. We wanted to know where the funds were coming from. And we do not, at this point, have an answer for that. I know certain areas know, but we don't. And that's why we were asking for that breakdown and for that information to come to us. And like I said, for me to see it here without even hearing anything, just is not the way I thought we would do things. I just don't think that's the best way to do it.
Okay, so are you still uncomfortable with this?
I am.
Okay. I guess from a standpoint, I will ask council to determine whether or not this item should go forward, given the questions posed by the Finance Committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, but wasn't the total project 200,000?
Phase one was 200,000. The original estimate was $520,000. We knew we couldn't support all the bells and whistles on the project. When I presented this for the award, I clearly stated this was phase one. I didn't know if phase one was gonna be 25%, 75%, and I felt very comfortable that we got 50% of the project funded. Half of that was from the Red Pole Park project, the other half was from the city center. This would be adding about a third to the total budget.
What are you talking about as far as money?
Excuse me?
What are you talking about as far as money for this project?
It was
Total.
just under 50%, not including the alternate bids.
No, I want the dollars. I want to know the dollars that this thing, this contract, we went for
It's $220,000 is what the contract's for. If the council was comfortable in allowing for the Metro Fund, this would increase the contract by about $95,000.
Okay. All right.
If it's not feasible at this time, then we'll just, it was an opportunity to try to get more of the project done with economies of scale.
I just want to, it's so hard for me and to change, what we were approving and then change it and see what the money is gonna be and then come up with the money and I agree with Lenny, I look for the Metro Fund balance, I couldn't find that either.
Okay. All right, let's.
Where's that in the budget?
It's on page 115 of the new CAFR.
Oh, the new CAFR.
I can run up and get it.
Well, no, I just tried, I know I couldn't find it.
It's,
I mean, trying, when you get something on a Friday, you got Monday coming at you, and you you gotta see through our eyes, in our brain, what we see, and how difficult it is to make a decision when you don't get it,
Don, let me try to get this moved one way or the other. Council, should it be a roll call by show of hands? All in favor of this moving forward, raise your hand.
Tonight?
Yes, tonight. All in favor of moving forward tonight, raise your hand. All against is moving forward, raise your hand.
Against it?
Against, yes.
Tonight.
All right, okay, against have it. All right, so this will not move forward tonight.
Okay.
All right. All right, we have one other item, which is the PMB and Providence Hospital agreement.
Yeah. We're requesting a 90-day extension with Pacific Medical Buildings for the Northland project. This will extend their original 90-day due diligence period with the city to acquire approximately 25 to 30 acres. The contract expires approximately May 11th. And
If I could just jump in, it's the 90 days with the due diligence, and then thereafter, under the agreement that council approved, they had 60 days to negotiate a purchase agreement. That's kind of been thwarted by a few things. One of them is they don't have a firm commitment yet from Providence that if they build these buildings, that Providence will lease. So they would like to extend that purchase agreement negotiation period for an additional 90 days. That's in essence what they're asking. So if council was okay with that, we would put it on the agenda at the consent.
All right, so this will move on to the consent agenda. We will take, Mr. Cruz.
Just real quick, I was unfortunately, I was not at the Robert's Rules Board of meeting. We had,
You were not where?
at the Robert's Rules Board
Oh,
meeting.
okay.
So just as a point of clarity for me, Councilwoman Taylor asked for that item to be pulled, yet we still sat here and had to listen to it and take a vote on it. It seems to me that once, after a request like that is made, we take a vote then.
That's right.
Would that be correct, or?
Yeah.
Well, we could probably.
Because it seemed like
on it.
her request was just ignored, as far as I'm
No,
concerned.
this item was, I think, and I would refer to our clerk, but this item was of consequence, and I wanted to have, we could pull it, but I would have a discussion, because I was gonna have it voted up or down to take it out, so I couldn't vote it up or down without having a discussion on it, because I figured there are financial consequences of a minimum of $90-some thousand. Is that?
Well, it would have been, if she called for it to be pulled, then it would have been discussion on it being pulled.
Right.
Not
She made a
discussion on the
motion.
item, if she made a
Right.
motion.
Okay.
So it was a discussion on the item, which ignored her
Okay.
request.
All right.
Okay, but in fact, okay, well, that's.
So it would have to have been a roll call on what she requested. If that would have failed, then the discussion could have pursued. If not,
But if I could jump in, we don't take formal motions here, so there would have had to have been a Rule
Rule
10
10
to do a motion to postpone. So I think it was more of a general discussion as opposed to a formal motion that was made that the group was responding to, but.
Right. I mean, so this is
just trying to get an
exact.
Sure, absolutely.
Very, very good, Mr. Cruz. But this is an exact case while we have to practice this Robert Rules of Order. So, our clerk, she's more familiar with it than 5 of us around the table. Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, all this discussion, there's even something even more subtle that just went on this thing. And that is, if our subcommittees mean anything, then the subcommittees need to know everything that needs to be discussed, because we're a recommending body that comes back to the whole council. So if, in the future, if something comes up, then the chairperson of the subcommittee ought to be contacted by whoever has that information, and maybe even, if necessary, have a special meeting of the subcommittee to keep the process flowing.
Right. And another thing, it wasn't as subtle, but in the future, if any chair has an issue with an item, bring it to the chair, and I would have discussed it with you, and I would have discussed it with the appropriate expert on Robert's Rules of Order, and we would have handled it a whole lot better, perhaps, than we did today. But so this is a learning process. So every time you said, when I said, we're going to practice, this is why we're going to practice. I mean, so it doesn't hurt to. And there's an axiom in a samurai warrior. The ritual of practice improves the power of the warrior. So all you got is a warrior. We're going to take 5 minutes. Is that good enough for everybody? Postpone for 5 minutes. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First of all, this is the audience. I would apologize for this. We do have a very extensive agenda, and we were going through that extensive agenda in our study session. A couple items of note on the agenda. All individuals who are here for the single assessment role hearing and confirmation, you can, we will have representatives from the city in the foyer out there in the lobby, and you can please go back there and talk to them about your special assessment, if you so wish. Also, individuals, we have a couple items that have been postponed. On the public hearing, item E, proposed special use request of United Auto and Collision, that has been postponed. We've also postponed item F, proposed rezoning request and special land use request of National Trail Bus. So those are two items, housekeeping items. If you want to talk to someone from the city with respect to your special assessment, please go to the lobby. Now moving back to the regular agenda, we have presentations.
I'd like to ask good evening, Mr. Don Frazier and Sherry Ladder in the audience come forward. Don Frazier, everybody's here from Lavin's Flowerland. They were invited this evening. Many of you know Don Frazier, who's been a Southfield fixture for a very long time. Grew up here, and his mother was the founder of 3D's Flowerland on 9 Mile Road. Anyhow, last year we had a very successful Flower Day on 9 Mile. We've done Flower Day for a number of years. It was on the front lawn, but logistically that was sort of a nightmare. So last year we moved Flower Day to the establishments on 9 Mile west of Telegraph. So I have a joint resolution from the council and myself declaring Southfield Flower Day on 9 Mile as Saturday, May 19th, 2018. And whereas the beauty and charm of Southfield's neighborhoods are among the city's most precious assets, attractive landscaping displays show pride in the community and adds to property values of homes and businesses in the surrounding area. And whereas working together with the neighborhood associations and the Southfield Parks and Garden Club, the city of Southfield recognizes residents and businesses that go the extra mile in their beautification efforts. Whereas on Saturday, May 19th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., the City of Southfield in partnership with 3D Gardens, Lavin's Flowerland, and the Southfield Parks and Garden Club will host Flower Day on 9 Mile to help Southfield residents and businesses spruce up their landscaping by offering free gardening tips, advice, along with specialty discounts to Southfield residents. And whereas 3D's Gardens at 24850 West 9 Mile, a family-owned business since 1969, was founded by Dorothy Frazier, who started with just a wheelbarrow of homegrown corn, a bushel of tomatoes, and a few quarts of strawberries. Today, 3D's Garden boasts 2 locations and continues to deliver a unique combination of design and landscape services, bringing the joy of natural beauty to their clients. And whereas Lavin's Flowerland at 24620 West 9 Mile, owned and operated by Sherry Lavin, is a successful lawn care and landscaping business built by hard work and the dedication to detail. Sherry's passion for nature fills 9 greenhouses on the property with flowers, plants, vegetables, and an open-air market with Michigan-grown seasonal fruits and vegetables and a variety of landscaping needs. Now therefore be resolved that by the mayor and city council, the city of Southfield invite Southfield residents and businesses to visit 3D's Gardens and Lavin's Flowerland on Saturday, May 19th, 2018 between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. To spring forward with planting and landscaping needs and receive gardening tips and advice. Now, be it further resolved that we, the mayor and council of the city of Southfield, county of Oakland, state of Michigan, do hereby declare May 19th as Southfield Flower Day on 9 Mile in the city. So Don, thank you for being here once again. We'll present this to you. And also I'd like to mention that for our Orthodox community, that 3Ds will honor Flower Day discounts and advice on Sunday, May 20th. I would also point out to everybody that May 20th is Flower Day down at Eastern Market. But why spend the gas to go down there when you can go on 9 Mile and you're not tripping over people are this hard to find a parking space when you can buy the same plants here and support 2 Southfield businesses. So Don, thank you. If you want to say a few words, let me present this to you.
Well, I'd like to thank the mayor and thank the council again for this opportunity this year. I've been doing the flower days since it started, as he said, out in the front lawn here. And it started out really good and it started to go down a little bit, and we decided to, I talked to the mayor and we came up with this idea about doing it right at the premises there, and it worked out really well last year. It worked out for everyone. So I'm just glad to be a part of it, glad to be supporting Southfield and the residents and help make the beautification and see our flowers all over the city. So thank you again. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I may. You made a statement that why should people go down to the Eastern Market and stumble over people and find a parking place, hard time finding parking places? But we hope the same thing happens in Southfield.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's called progress.
Next, I have a proclamation from my office for Bladder Cancer Awareness Day, and I'd like to call up Jim Scott. Good evening, Jim. So this is a proclamation, Bladder Cancer Awareness Day, May 5th, 2018. Whereas bladder cancer is the 6th most commonly diagnosed cancer in the United States and nearly 4 times more common in men than in women. This year, over 81,000 people in the U.S. are expected to be diagnosed with bladder cancer. And whereas, despite being such a common disease, little information or research were available about bladder cancer until the spring of 2005, when a pair of attorneys from Washington, D.C. set out to change the national conversation about bladder cancer with the help of friends and family, along with strong support from the medical community. And whereas, founded in 2005, Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network, or BCAN, is the only national advocacy organization devoted to advancing bladder cancer research and support for those impacted by the disease, whose mission is to increase public awareness about bladder cancer, advance research, and provide educational and support services for the bladder cancer community. And whereas on Saturday, and this is where all of us come in, on Saturday, May 5th, 2018 at 9 a.m., BCAN will host a walk to end bladder cancer at Catalpa Oaks Park in Southfield, Michigan. This is off Greenfield Road, to raise public awareness about bladder cancer and funding for bladder cancer research and education. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Kenson Seibert, Mayor of the City of Southfield County of Oakland, State of Michigan, do hereby proclaim May 5th, 2018 as Bladder Cancer Awareness Day in the City of Southfield, and be it further resolved that the Mayor of the City of Southfield encourage all Southfield residents to participate in the Walk to End Bladder Cancer. Again, the event is May 5th, 9 a.m. at Catalpa Oaks Park, at Greenfield and 11.5 Mile Road. And to show bladder cancer patients that they are not alone, to educate, inspire, and hopefully help save lives in our community. So Jim, I'd like to present this to you. And if you'd like to say a few words.
I'd like to thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. It's with great pride that I travel not just throughout Southfield, but now across the country, thanks to this organization housed out of Bethesda, Maryland. And I try to represent Southfield well. I hate to be representing you in a cancer situation, but I go forward to hopefully help just someone else with their journey with cancer, or surviving with it, or as a surviving family or friend. And I tell you, I am so honored to be here tonight and receive this proclamation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Scott, just briefly, Jim was a friend of mine, and I just want him to know that he constantly have my blessings, and you have the blessings of the city of Southfield as you go forward, spreading the good word and the message that you have. And thank you for doing your good civic duties.
And I will add this, that we're lucky to have Jim still with us. He was gravely ill with bladder cancer, and there is hope. So, thank you.
Amen.
And finally, this evening, we have a joint resolution from the mayor and council in tribute of Dr. Merle F. or Pete Rydeski. Whereas Dr. Merle F. Pete Rydeski passed away on April 12th, 2018 at the age of 78, and whereas Dr. Rydeski was the beloved husband of Barbara for 43 years and the loving father of Julie, Dr. Peter, and Paul, and Anne Marie, as well as the endearing grandfather of Olivia, Grace, and Holden. And whereas Dr. Rydeski was a captain in the United States Army stationed at Fort Wayne, Indiana during the Vietnam War. And whereas known as Dr. Pete, he founded the Providence Hospital Emergency Department in Southfield and chaired the department for 20 years until his retirement in 2004. And whereas during his illustrious career at Providence, Dr. Rydeski was instrumental in establishing one of the first emergency medical service, or EMS, systems throughout the entire country. And whereas the late Dr. Rydeski, in partnership with the Southfield Fire Department, developed one of the nation's first EMS programs that would later become a model for other communities. And whereas in 1972, the Southfield Fire Department added life support, a life support unit and paramedic program to provide emergency medical assistance. And whereas this program was the first of its kind in the nation in cities of less than 100,000 population, paramedic units have been located in 4 of Southfield's fire stations since 1978. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the mayor and city council, city of Southfield, county of Oakland, state of Michigan, do hereby pay tribute to Dr. Rydeski for his long-standing service to the Southfield community and for being his instrumental in establishing a nationally recognized EMS program in Southfield. Be it further resolved that we, the mayor and council of the city of Southfield, state of Michigan, do hereby recognize Dr. Rydeski for his humble demeanor, humor, unending generosity, and outstanding career in the field of medicine and emergency medical service. Dated April 30th, 2018.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Picasso.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to read a note from Barbara, Dr. Rydeski's wife. Your kind and thoughtful expression of sympathy is deeply appreciated and gratefully acknowledged. Many great memories, EMS program in Southfield that we have shared together. Thank you for the letter from the mayor, and it is a tribute to Pete's memory. Thank you, Barbara.
And I will convey the resolution to the Rydeski family.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Picasso and Mr. Mayor. We have no appointments. We now move to minutes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Frazier.
I move that we approve the minutes of the special meeting of April 9th, 2018, and the committee of the whole meeting of April 9th, 2018.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Frazier and supported by Ms. Morris. that we approve the minutes from the special meeting of April 9, 2018, and also the committee of the whole minute meetings of April 9, 2018. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's been moved and approved that the minutes as presented are approved. Let me just inquire one thing. Mr. Cruz, did you have?
I was just asking a question about, I couldn't recall if we needed to have a vote or anything on those resolutions or proclamations. Last time, Clerk Hawkins last time, they asked, informed us that that was the appropriate procedure.
Correct. The two resolutions, if you want them in the permanent record, that the mayor just did, outside of this proclamation, we do need a roll call for that.
Okay, Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, I thought about that, but it seems like we're doing it backwards. If we're going to write a resolution, can't do anything about the proclamation. If we're going to do a resolution, it would seem to me that we would take that vote prior to the resolution being written, so that it doesn't come up after the thing is written. Because now we just have, I mean, if you vote no, it's already done. So,
right. I think Mr. Frazier makes a very good point. We will go ahead and vote tonight to approve it, just to get it processed. But on a going forward basis, we will have to approve these resolutions before they get to this particular point.
It's no different than, I respectfully disagree with that. If you look at other communities, you have resolutions that are prepared because they're going to eventually get passed. So it's nothing, other things that are on our agenda are the same way. So you don't have to pre-approve a resolution. You can have the resolution with the assumption that it is going to get passed, because most of these resolutions are ceremonious and they get passed all the time anyway.
but that doesn't make it right.
All right, I think we're going to have a local rule that we will pass the resolution or get it passed before it is completed. That's the way going forward. This makes sense to me. We will just, that's cause and effect. So the cause, we caused it to be provided by voting on it, and we voted in. So that's what we're doing. Okay. All right. Do we go ahead and, you want us to vote on these resolutions now?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, on a going forward basis, that's what we're gonna do. This is, the audience, we had a class on Robert Rules of Order. The clerk and I, we brought the young lady in, she taught us, and I've been pushing, practice. So this is a process of making sure this council get on board with respect to Robert Rules of Order. And we won't have these procedural things come up during the official meeting, because all of us will practice what to do. So with respect to that, we will move into the consent agenda. And, well, let me just, one other thing, housekeeping. Item number, for those individuals who are here, and you're following us on the television, we're pulling item number G that's being postponed. We're pulling item number J, which is also being postponed. And we're adding an item P, which is the Providence Hospital and PMB, an extension of that agreement. And at that time, I will have the attorney to speak on it, and I'll have someone else to speak on that particular item. And also, I always typically advise people at home to follow us on the TV. Cable 15 has been instructed to scroll through the consent agenda items, because it would be here forever if I read everything. So I'll just give the highlights of each consent agenda item, and also the fiscal impact. The first item, the Southfield Smart Zone of Southfield and Orange Tech. The Michigan Smart Zone Network connects university, industry, and research organizations in government and other communities to stimulate the growth of technology-based businesses and jobs. In 2014, the Southfield Smart Zone, along with Automation Ag Alley, regional partners, was one of the 3 local development finance authorities in the state of Michigan to receive an opportunity to seek a 15-year extension from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. The fiscal impact of this is that the Joint Local Development Finance Authority, also known as Southfield Smart Zone, has an anticipated annual income cash flow in excess of $250,000. It is the recommendation of this honorable body. Well, our city administrator is requesting this honorable body to adopt a resolution authorizing the administration to pledge on behalf of the city of Southfield, and as stated in the Smart Zone Tax Increment Plan, and allow $100,000 per year for 10 years, commencing in 2019, to assist with the operational costs of the proposed collaborator space of approximately 6,300 square feet of space and a 140 square feet ADA bathroom in the Mark Plaza building located on the Orange Tech University. Consent agenda item B, the use of Northland property for temporary concrete bash plant. The administration would like authorization for Florence Cement to utilize a portion of Northland property for the temporary concrete bash plant. The bash plant will be situated on the south side of the property in the same location that Florence Cement used last year. Mobilization will take place at the end of May and will be in operation for approximately 3 months. The fiscal impact of this is, in lieu of payment for the uses of the property, Florence Cement will provide in-kind paving services at a location to be determined by the Southfield property, on Southfield property and or right of way. Consent agenda item C. The Michigan Department of Transportation has presented contract documents for the 11-mile road improvement project, the Bell Road and Arlington Drive. The proposed rehabilitation inlay from I-696 off-ramp to Arlington, where the curb stays in place and only one existing concrete, and only the existing concrete is removed and replaced. Construction will begin in June 2018 and is anticipated to be completed in November 2018. The fiscal impact of this project will be, the estimated cost of Southfield's share is $2,298,345. Funding for the city portion of the projected project is from the Road Funding Construction Fund. Consent agenda item D. The Michigan Department of Transportation has presented contract documents for the rehabilitation of 9 Mile Road from Telegraph Road to Losser Road, and for the reconstruction of the 9 Mile Road Bridge, which spans Evans Branch of the Rouge River. The proposed project includes removal and replacement of the bridge structure. Southfield portion of this particular contract will be $3,419,733.75. Consent agenda item E. And this is a routine maintenance issue for our information technology department. A few areas of the city data and voice network are aging and require an immediate upgrade to maintain efficient operations and to improve performance. It is the recommendation of our technology department that we award 3 lots of the Cisco switch and voice router technology infrastructure upgrade to the Sentinel, that's the company out of Ann Arbor, not to exceed $173,525. This is primarily a maintenance upgrade. Consent agenda item F. The city website, Southfield.com, is an immediate need to be updated and improved to improve security, usability, availability, and aesthetics. The fiscal impact of this improvement will be, a total cost of this project will not exceed $30,000. The allocation is as follows: $12,500 for the website migration services to a cloud, $12,500 for graphic design and content migration to the existing website, and a $5,000 contingency for professional services. Consent agenda item H, authorization to purchase fitness equipment. The Parks and Recreation Department is seeking authorization to replace the fitness equipment at the Beechwood Recreation Center. The purchase will represent one of the finishing touches to the Beechwood renovation project. The fiscal impact: the equipment purchase totals $64,910 and include, did I say $64,910? And include a standard warranty of 2 years and 1 year labor. The warranty can be raised to a 3-year and the labor for additional cost of $4,830. Due to the expected wear and tear, we recommend, this is the Parks and Rec, we recommend purchasing the additional warranty coverage. The total cost, including extended warranty, will be $69,740. The funds are currently located, they were budgeted, and they are located in the Beechwood equipment purchase, and also a corresponding increase in the use of fund balance. Consent agenda item I. The Parks and Recreation Department is seeking permission to purchase 2 commercial mowers and 1 turf sprayer as authorized in the 2017-2018 budget. The fiscal impact of this particular item is the requested equipment purchase totals $57,796.74. Funding is provided in the Parks and Recreation Equipment Revolving Fund. Consent agenda item K. This is a request of council for the authorization of a proposed reimbursement agreement with the Road Commission of Oakland County pertaining to the city street sweeping program on county roads within the city of Southfield. That is 10 Mile, 12 Mile, and Lassa Road for the 2018 season. Reimbursement revenue to be received by the city from the Road Commission of Oakland County in 2018 will be $11,704.05, the same amount as last year. The fiscal impact of this the reimbursement from Road Commission of Oakland County will be deposited into the street and highway budget. Consent agenda item L. The City of Southfield applied for funding on the Oakland County 2017 Local Road Improvement Program to assist with project costs for the reconstruction of northbound Northwestern Highway Service Drive from Telegraph to Northwestern Highway in Section 17. The fiscal impact of this particular request is the estimated total cost of the project was $2,961,800, and a maximum 2017 local road improvement program matching fund amount is $109,811. The city's required match to be paid by from the major street budget. Upon execution of the agreement, the city shall submit an invoice to Oakland County to receive their local road improvement program funds, which shall be deposited in the appropriate major street revenue account. Consent agenda item M. On April 9, 2018 Committee of the Whole meeting, there was a presentation by Kimmy Horn Productions, LLC, relative to a request to hold a jazz festival on the front lawn of the municipal complex on August 10 and 11, 2018. At the time, there was a consensus of the council to approve the request. If the city council is in agreement with the terms of the license agreement, it was presented by our lawyer that that she recommended that we adopt the resolution set forth. I move on to consent agenda item N. Phase 2 of the environmental inspection, former Montgomery Ward Automotive Service property on Northland. The city and Nason Realty LLC have executed a purchase and sale agreement regarding the former Northland Montgomery Ward Automotive Services property, and the city is currently undertaking this due diligence inspection of the property. As part of the inspection, the phase 1 analysis conducted of the property advised and concluded that a phase 2 environmental inspection should be undertaken. The cost of phase 2 inspection and analysis is $22,500. Staff has identified 2 outside sources that will cover the cost of the phase 2. The city funds will not be expended. If the city council concurs with the recommendation, staff requests the approval of the proposed resolution. Consent agenda item O. The city of Southfield maintains landscape center median on Northwestern Highway, Telegraph Road, north of I-696 and Wausau Road, north of 8 Mile. At the request of the Michigan Department of Transportation since 2009, the city has also been mowing the balance of Telegraph Road between 8 Mile Road and I-696 and the northwestern median. MDOT reimburses the city for a portion of the expense based on analysis of the bids, which represent their normal level of service. 12 mowings and little pickup for both Telegraph and Northwestern Highway. The fiscal impact of this particular project is they received the bids. Expert Lawn Care of Warren, Michigan submitted the lowest acceptable bid for a period of May 1, 2018 through April 30, 2021. And the bid was for $193,013. I will now move on to the next consent agenda item, which is the PMB extension of the agreement with PMB. Madam Attorney, would you want to present that?
Yeah, the request is simply to extend the purchase agreement negotiation period with PMB. Currently, under the existing agreement, they have a 90-day due diligence period, followed by a 60-day purchase agreement negotiation period. They completed the first period and are interested in the property, but they need additional time to complete the purchase agreement negotiation period. So we're asking for an additional 90 days. So we amend that agreement to give them another 90 days to negotiate a purchase agreement with the city.
Council, you heard the consent items. Mr. President, Mr. Cruz.
I'd like to move approval of consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, F, H, I, K, L, M, N, O, and P.
Support. Okay, moved by Mr. Cruz, supported by Mr. Frazier, that we approve the items as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda items are approved as presented. We will now move into public hearing. Public hearing is now open.
Mr. President, were you going to identify which public hearing is open?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll wait till this thing finishes. That's okay, it'll stop. Okay. All right, we will be dealing with item A on the public hearing.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. I bring before you tonight the single lot special assessment for a public hearing and confirmation. Section 1.13, as contained in the ordinance code, mandates the procedure for the assessing certain costs incurred by the city through an assessment process. The cost, which was assessed but not paid, becomes a lien on the land and are then placed on the tax bill via a single lot special assessment. The ordinance further states the assessor shall prepare an assessment roll covering all such charges, and the council shall schedule a public hearing for the confirmation of the assessment roll. Such assessments and all interest and charges thereon shall, from the date of the confirmation of the roll, be and remain a lien on the property as assessed. The provisions outlined within the city ordinance allow for a full reimbursement of all costs associated with labor, material, and service of such incurred expense, and is subject to the special assessment. The full reimbursement spread is $156,859.97. It is recommended that your honorable body conduct a public hearing and approve the attached resolution and confirm the single lot special assessment roll in accordance with Charter 1, Section 1.13 of the City Code and Ordinance. And Mr. President, I will be in the lobby if there's any questions, if there's anybody here tonight that has any, would like to discuss any of these issues.
Okay. We will now open the public hearing. You can see.
For the record, since this is a public hearing, my name is Pamela Gerald, Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. You know, we have CHORE and we have the SHIP program, and we talk about a lot of seniors in the city of Southfield and how a lot of them are not able to maintain their property. So as a result of that, they incur the single lot special assessment, and it's put on their taxes. If they're already having trouble paying their taxes and they're unable to perform some of these duties, why don't we include these seniors in the big, great rate and just expand the realm of how many people that you do? This is a lot of money. And there should be more dialogue before the single lot assessments get up to $156,000, 800 and some change and 97 cents. I'm just hoping that our assessor and the city will work with the people that need to be worked with due to hardship. If these people are already facing foreclosure and other things on their home, this is only going to add insult to injury. So let's do something about it. Let's work with our residents and not allow them to have these things on their tax roll. Consider that. And I have a minute left. I'll yield to my time.
Public hearing is still open. Anyone else listen to speak on this item? Public hearing is not closed. Council, Mr.
I had a very quick question for the city assessor. I was going through the rules just to familiarize myself, and there were a couple of my neighbors that I noticed were on there, and I reached out to them prior to the public hearing to give them a heads up. And some of them noticed that or mentioned to me that they did not receive any mail prior to the public hearing. So my question is, do we send a notice to each parcel / homeowner or taxpayer on record, or is it just we publish the public hearing and that's how they're informed?
No, in particularly the code violations, they're notified, I believe it's 3 times during this process, and on the back of that notice, it identifies the public hearing.
Of each notice?
I believe it's each notice, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. This item requires no vote.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move that we accept the single lot special assessment roll hearing and confirmation as presented to us by the assessor.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Fraser, supported by Mr. Fakasi, that we move that we support the resolution, item number 8. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, public hearing item D. Community block limit.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight is a public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant Program and the funds for 2018-19. The Council first heard about this and established a public hearing last month. Posted a legal notice with a 30-day comment period in it. Tonight's public hearing. After some comments from us and from you, I hope you will approve the annual action plan that we can submit to HUD. It's interesting to note that the block grant funds come from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. We receive the funds as an entitlement community, and since the beginning, since about 1975, we've received almost $22 million in those funds. And those funds are used to benefit low and moderate income people, households in the areas, and that's exactly what this program has done over those years. The entitlement amount we get each year changes a bit. Initially, I think in '75 we received about $175,000. The highest year was about $660,000. The last 4 years, it's been between $400,000 and $450,000. And we haven't. HUD hasn't given us our entitlement amount for this year. So what we're doing is proposing that we use the same entitlement amount as last year, which was $428,040. Last year we funded 11 projects, and I'm having technical difficulty here. But anyhow, in your packet, there is a three-year comparison of the activities and the funding amounts. What we are proposing this year is, again, identical to last year. There's 11 activities and the same funding amount. We don't know exactly how much money we're getting, so what we would also indicate or propose is that if we get more funds, that each activity be adjusted proportionately, or if we get fewer funds. Last year we did get fewer funds. We came to you with a dollar amount. We ended up getting a 5% reduction from HUD, so we're hanging in there this year with that 5% reduction. Hopefully we can maintain the same programs and activities as we have in the past. Part of the block grant program requires us to do a 5-year consolidated plan. We're in about the 3rd or 4th year right now. Next year we will begin preparation of a 5-year plan. We do that with the county and with the 4 other entitlement communities in Oakland County. And that's when we look at the needs. And so we talk to the service providers, and it's a lengthy process and a lot of input to find out what are the community needs, what are the area-wide needs, and then develop a plan from there. So tonight, this is what we're looking for, we're asking for. And one other little tidbit, I call it our CDBG current events. We work with a group called Rebuilding Together to, they get volunteers to help fix up houses in Southfield. Last weekend, Rebuilding Together worked on 4 houses in Southfield with the help of volunteers. We'll do 3 more houses in May, and then along with Eaton Corporation, we'll work on Bedford Woods Park in May also. So your funds are going back into the community, they're helping people, and they're helping the neighborhoods. And I'd be ready to answer any questions or comments you may have.
Well, we will open the public hearing, and they always have the questions after the public hearing session.
Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. You know, I'm looking at the allocation of the dollars that is on your expenditure list for the different departments. And I'm looking at the fact that chore, ship, and ship gets the bulk of that money. Now, we just had, I guess it was okayed by the city, an opioid town hall crisis. And I'm noticing that Haven is only getting $712. Now, we have given Haven traditionally a lot more money in the past. Now, when crack cocaine entered the black community, it was people making bad choices, it was recreational, and it wasn't really a big deal, even though it was known that it was a problem in the black community. As soon as we get a more sophisticated drug, and you call it an opioid, and it hits the white community, it becomes a crisis. Now, with these 2 types of crisis in both communities, you do have domestic violence being high and on the rise with abuse of these drugs. Why is Haven only getting $712? You mean to tell me that you can't take $2,560 and make that an even $40,000 and give that to Haven? You mean to tell me that you can't take $1,100 and make that an even $78 that you would give to ship entitlement? You mean to tell me that you can't take another $1,000 or $2,000 off of ship revolving funds and give that to Haven? If what you purport is true, that this opioid is a really bad crisis now in our community, I would think that you would want to give Haven more money for these women and children, and some cases men, that are experiencing an escalated rise in domestic violence. I'm not happy to see $712 up there. I'm not happy to see the 3 figures up at the top. And obviously you don't think it's a really big deal. You talk about it for the sake of having something in the city, but you're not really proactive about it. You're reactive and only proactive if something happens. So hopefully we don't have a domestic violence situation that's caused by these opioids and other drugs. Thank you.
The whole public hearing is still open. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Otherwise, the public hearing is closed. Mr. Rankin, any council have questions?
I just wanted to, I know that the money is scarce and our funding even went down from last year. And we're basically sitting here at funding levels from the government from 1992. You would hope that 25 years later we would have more money, but unfortunately things keep getting cut in the wrong places. So, but I do appreciate the work that you do with the funding that you get.
Seeing no other questions, could I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Fakasi.
I move the Community Development Block Grant of 2018-2000 be approved.
Support. Moved by Mr. Fakasi, supported by Mr. Frazier. that we approve the community block grant resolution. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Now move on to the next item, number 3C, the restated development plan and tax increment financing plan. Within 1 year. Okay.
Good evening, Council. I'm Al Subbis, 18,000 West 9 Mile, Director of the DDA. Before you this evening, I'm here to offer my support for the 2017 Restated Development Plan and Tax Increment Financing Plan. We have been through this, trying to get this process finalized for a little over a year, and it's an important vehicle for the city as it represents a means for the city to get repaid for its $20 million investment into the Northland property. It is also an important vehicle because it would provide potential incentives to developers who are seeking those and are considering development at the city. The documents before you this evening are inclusive of comments and changes from the Downtown Development Authority Board of Directors, the Southfield Development Area Citizens Council, as well as the City of Southfield. Before you, you have the 2017 Restated Development Plan and Tax Increment Financing Plan, the tax financing agreement between County of Oakland, City of Southfield, and the Southfield Downtown Development Authority, and the interlocal agreement to use local tax increment revenues for the Northland Brownfield redevelopment project. I would ask that the council consider these documents for approval this evening. The information provided is in anticipation of the May 14th meeting, where hopefully we will be able to finalize the plan as well as read it into the ordinance. So again, here to support the restatement of the plan. Thank you.
Is this?
Yeah, if I could, just, it's for clarification. So the DDA is seeking that the council authorize the mayor to approve the documents and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the 3 agreements that Mr. Aceves enumerated. And then the ordinance will encompass the new TIF plan, and I'll have that in a format for the 14th. Because of the timing, and we had some notice issues earlier this year, and then the county had some issues, and I think a lot of that has just brought us to where we are this evening. I would be asking on the 14th if we could introduce and enact the ordinance as an emergency ordinance on May 14th. If it goes beyond, if it's not in effect by the time the board of review concludes, then we have a problem with using the December 31st base year. So that's the time constraint that we're under. So I'll put this out for the 14th, and I would be asking that it be done as an emergency ordinance. We can then publish, a week or so after that, and we'd be in good shape timing-wise before the 29th of May, which is, my understanding, is kind of the key date to have it in effect.
I'm in agreement with that. This is a public hearing. The public hearing is now open.
Pamela Jarrell, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number, again, residents, is 248-346-0439. And you know that I always make myself available for your concerns. There was a visioning session that the city did for Northland. You guys said that people were going to be knocking the doors down to buy Northland. And it just seems like every so often, there's an additional environmental study that needs to be done. There is additional environmental insurance that needs to be purchased. Now we're going to be bashing concrete for a cost, bartering to see if we can get $9,000 worth of some kind of something done in place of allowing the city, or allowing this company to bash concrete at Northland. I'm concerned about the decibels when you're bashing concrete. We have a police station there. Are we concerned about the environmental hazards that we have having a police station there? And if those guys have to wear masks to deal with the asbestos, what are we subjecting our police that work out of that downtown station to and with? When Ronnie Dahl did the interview with me and we talked about Northland, I said that Northland was going to cost $20 to $32 million to remediate the environmental hazards before you can develop it to sell. You're selling all these little parcels of land, former bank branch for $1,350,000. You're leasing a portion of it here while you're still acquiring Firestone and JCPenney. Obviously, you guys didn't have a plan. You really pushed, and you pushed so fast before you had all your ducks lined up in order. And to quote Mr. Fracassi, he says sometimes things look like hodgepodge. This looks like hodgepodge to me. Didn't you guys know that with a building that was built in 1954, the first and oldest regional mall in the United States, that there would be asbestos based on the materials that they were using? So since you said that you were going to be transparent to the people, I would like for you guys to do some kind of forensic audit and show us what you're really spending money on. I've got some concerns about the environmental stuff, and I'm going to keep digging and digging and digging and doing FOIAs until I get all the information that I think that I need. But something just doesn't feel right, it doesn't seem right, and it doesn't smell right. Hodgepodge.
Public hearing is still open.
Good evening. My name is Gerard Mullen, Southfield Citizens Oversight Committee. Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037. A PA 197 legal notice is unique and can be tricky, but this council has managed to navigate past the tricky part. For example, a PA 197 legal notice is required to be published twice. Yes, twice, not once, like most other legal notices. And this council did indeed publish this notice twice. First, on April 5th, and then secondly, on April 26th. Both notices were published in the Southfield Sun, the one newspaper that every Southfield resident gets a copy of for free. Council got that one right. 2 legal notices, not one. Another example, done correctly by this council, is as follows. A PA 197 notice requires extra details in comparison to a typical legal notice. And again, this council passed with flying colors. To top it off, a typical public legal notice, public file, is made available at the planning department, but a PA 197 public legal notice, public file, is made available only at city clerk's office. And that's where it is tonight. This council has several opportunities to screw up this legal notice, but you folks were flawless. Congratulations. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open. Public hearing on this item is, you come up, man, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the City Council, as well as City Administrators, City Clerk, City Attorney, Terry. My name is Kathleen McNellis, and I reside within the Southfield Downtown Development Authority at 17632 Gateway Circle, 48075. I feel that the impact of the decisions that will be made as a result of tonight's hearing on the restated development plan and tax increment financing, we are going to have quite a bit of impact, and the impact will be on me as well as my neighbors. As one of 5 members of our Developmental Area Citizens Council, I want everyone to know that our recommendations were heard by Mr. Alacivas, and they were valued. Our recommendations are incorporated within that document that is before you this evening. Our Developmental Area Citizens Council members shared with Mayor Seibert, and we share his vision to create a unique environment in Northland's redevelopment with pedestrian-friendly walkways, non-motorized transportation access, plenty of green space, and the inclusion of public art as per our city mandate. We achieved a document that specifically addresses public safety concerns, accessibility through the lifespan, and world-class information technology for accessible communication for everyone. We have a number of apartment buildings within the development area as well. We insisted on and received provisions for code enforcement assistance to ensure the rights of every tenant who resides within the area governed by the TIF. We recognize that the tax rate will not increase, and that gaining approval of the restated development plan and tax increment financing is just one of many necessary steps in making our vision a reality for those who live, learn, work, and play here in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, go ahead. Come on.
Good evening. My name is Daisy Lee, and I live at Legacy Place, 22580 Saratoga Drive, Southfield, Michigan. And when I read about the concrete bashing and so forth, I understood the presentation that was presented to us some time ago about the new development plan for Northland. And I will agree, as was stated, that we did have an enormous presentation and everything was gorgeous. So far, we only have a big pile of dirt, and the wind blows it every time that we have a windstorm and whatever, which affects the environment, and it affects us also. Now we're speaking in terms of concrete bashing and asbestos from some of the buildings that are being torn down and what's actually in the soil now at this point. People are walking through the area, and they're using it as if it's actually a walking area now, which they are not aware of the fact that they may be exposed to some of the elements in the environment. So what I would like to know is what's going to be done to protect individuals that are walking, as well as those of us who are actually living in the area, who will be breathing some of this asbestos product that will be in the air. And I'm aware of this because as I worked in a particular school system, we had lots of asbestos and lots of problems with kids as well as staff, and some people actually died because of it. So therefore, what safety factors are we going to have? I understand you're going to be working on the south side of Northland. However, the air and the environment will not manifest itself only on the south side. It's going to go north, south, east, west, whichever way the wind blows. So could we get a clarification on that?
Public hearing is still open on this particular item, which is the restated development plan and tax increment financing plan. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Public hearing is now closed. Council, do you have any questions on this item?
I would like to perhaps explain how the asbestos removal or encapsulation is done to help reduce the fears of what's going on. There are safety standards that we're following very closely, and there's also a monitor from the EPA that is monitoring how it's done. But the first thing that has to happen is whoever's working on the asbestos has to create a negative airflow, which means nothing can get out, and the negative airflow is coming inside, so that there will be no asbestos fibers floating in the air. That has to be maintained, and we're being monitored by that, so you can rest assured that they're not in there whacking away at asbestos and asbestos fibers are flying around in the air or anything. It just isn't happening. And the state and the federal government is making sure that we're doing it the right way. As far as the police station is concerned, the police are only there for a short period of time. They mostly are there late in the afternoon. It's not a regular precinct. People aren't there all the time, so when any work is going on, most of the time the police are on the road. The other thing is, yeah, it looks like we're going very slow, but actually, in this kind of a situation, we're on target and we're moving quickly to do the things that need to be done in order to do it right. And yes, there is a large pile of dirt there. For a lot of people, they don't understand that there's a humongous basement under the North Lane. And when the buildings are torn down, a lot of the dirt will be used to fill in the basement because we can't just leave it standing. But we may not fill in all of that, and the dirt will be used on construction sites away from North Lane. So the dirt is a temporary storage place, and if we filled in, as large as that pile of dirt is, if we filled in all of the underground, it's so large that we still don't have enough dirt on site to fill that basement in. I don't know what other comments came up, but I hope that my explanation has helped you understand that we're doing it safely and we're doing it quickly. And we do have developers that are very interested in the property. In fact, this evening we just extended for PMB another 90 days for them to do their due diligence on a piece of property near Providence Hospital that they want to build on, and other things that are coming along that we're not ready to talk about because we don't have any paper signed, and the developers really aren't prepared to have us make public announcements for things that haven't formulated yet. So I hope that helps with the question.
Mr. Mayor?
I'd like to clarify or further explain what this public hearing you just had is about, and that Northland only represents about a third of the DDA. The DDA goes along Greenfield Road from 8 Mile to Mount Vernon, and goes up Northwestern Highway from 8 Mile, takes in North Park Drive, and then jiggles up to 9 Mile and the IBM building, the Gateway condos, and Channel 2, and a number of the apartment buildings on Providence Drive. The significance of this restated plan is that it's an investment plan for the next 20 years. This plan talks about improvements in the district that will take place until the year 2038. And the area, why we, the city of Southfield created a DDA many years ago, is because this is the gateway, the southern gateway to the city. That's where the Lodge Freeway comes into the city, Greenfield, 8 Mile, and so on. And this is an area that was at one time a boom area in the city. And the DDA is the mechanism to reinvest in this area of the city, as well as provide public improvements and attract businesses and redevelopment. So again, this restated development plan is a renewal of an existing financing plan for the area, and it encompasses so much more than Northland. Again, Northland represents about a third of the acreage that falls within the DDA district. So for the people that live in the DDA area, mostly apartment residents, and for those who own businesses or do business in the area, this is a plan that helps keep our DDA district, our southeast corner of Southfield, as viable and adds resources to the renewal of everything from streetscapes to lighting to roads, sidewalks, landscaping, any of the public improvements in the DDA district. And I just can't stress enough, although some of the comments focused on Northland, it's much more than Northland.
Mr. Chairman, are you ready for a motion?
Yes, sir. Mr. Picasso.
I'll move the 2017 restated development plan, tax increment financing.
Support. It's moved by Mr. Picasso and supported by Mrs. Mars that we approve item C, 2017 restated development plan and tax increment financing plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. We now move on to item D, which is the zoning orders text amendment.
Through the chair. PSLU 18-004, the zoning ordinance text amendment to amend Article 4 general provisions of Chapter 45 zoning of Title 5 zoning and planning of the Code of the City of Southfield by deleting existing Section 5.22-5 public art requirement and inserting therein a new Section 5.22-5 public art requirement. In essence, this text amendment specifically addresses providing for the submission of a cash bond by the property owner in the amount equal to the public art allocation requirement during those times when weather, delay in fabrication, or delivery of art would impede timely installation.
This is a public hearing. The public hearing is now open.
Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. I was not in favor of this mandatory donation for art. I think art is good, but I think sometimes that things can be an overkill. Just to refresh the memory to the residents that if the development was between $1 million and $2.5 million, you pay 0.5%, not to exceed $12,500 for a mandatory art donation. And if it was higher, then you pay 1% of whatever the cost of the development is. Now, you know, the thing about it is, all the art that you have put out there is not reflective of the community. This community is predominantly African American. And I've gone to the Arts Commission meetings, I've raised this issue before, and I know that there is a project in the making done by Charles McGee, but it's not there yet. You don't even have a place for it. But here's what I'm concerned about. You have a historical mural, Motown, that would be symbolic to the community that is represented right now in Southfield. What I've heard from the Arts Commission members, some of them, is we don't have a place to put it. I found a place for it. You can put it right there in the pavilion so that when people are walking, they can see, Motown. It doesn't look like it's damaged. It doesn't need things repaired on it. You know, we acquire a Bertoa piece of metal in storage, and the city is expending $50,000 or more to have it restored just to sell it. It doesn't make sense. Where are we getting the money from? Because it just seems like whenever we need money or whenever we want to store some money, we just create a new LLC. I think we need to go through all the accounts in this city, and this council should require Sue Ward and the administrator to say what all these accounts are, what the money is being used for, what has it been used for thus far. Because we're not getting the transparency that was talked about when you guys were campaigning. Ms. Morris, you said if we can buy the boy and the bear, we can help the employees. Are we helping the employees? Create a fund for them. Thank you.
Anybody else here for the public here to speak on this item? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. We now,
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
I'd like to move PSLU 18-0004.
Support. Through the chair, this is a friendly amendment. It's an introduction first. Introduce the ordinance.
Okay, we do need an ordinance number.
1693.
This is.
Introducing 1693.
I'd like to introduce ordinance number 1693.
Support. It's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum and supported by Mr. Frazier that we introduce ordinance 1693 for item PSLU 18-0004. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number D is approved with item number, ordinance number 1693.
Through the chair, it's been introduced. Now you have to have a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we approve ordinance number 1693.
Okay, moved by Mr. Mandelbaum that we approve ordinance number.
We enact, or we.
That's next
Generally,
month.
we approve the ordinance amendment and then you introduce the ordinance. So we're kind of doing it backwards, but we need an approval of the amendment and then introducing the ordinance. And then enactment will come at the next meeting.
Okay. Ordinance number 1693 has been introduced and is supported by Mr. Frazier. Motion by Mr. Frazier and supported by Ms. Marshall. Is everybody on board here? We need to restate something here.
Do you need to redo the first motion?
I think if you approve the ordinance change and then we'll introduce the ordinance again, so it follows.
Okay, we're going to approve the ordinance change. Can I get a support to approve this ordinance change as stated in item D?
Support.
Okay, we need some motion first.
I'll make the motion again, I guess. I move that we approve the friendly text amendment that's stated in PSLU 18-0004.
Support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Mandelbaum and supported by Ms. Taylor that we approve item D as stated, which is a friendly item. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And now we have to reintroduce something.
Right, item D has been approved.
Then
Now,
we'll just
We have to
introduce that ordinance.
I move that we introduce ordinance 1693. Support.
Okay. Ms. Taylor said this motion by Ms. Taylor, supported by Ms. Morris, that we introduce ordinance number 1693. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Okay, that item is approved.
Next item is request for postponement of the proposed special use request of United Auto and Collision, PSLU 18-002, to a date certain of May 21st,
Okay.
2018.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
I'd like to move the postponement of the proposed special use request PSLU 18-0002 to a date certain of May 21st, 2018.
Support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Mandelbaum and supported by Ms. Taylor, that we move item E to a date certain of May 21, 2018. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The next item, through the chair, is postponement of the proposed rezoning request and special land use request of National Trails Bus, PZR 18-0002, and PSLU 18-0003 to no date certain.
No date certain.
Mr. Chair,
Ms.
I move that we postpone PZR 18-002, PSLU 18-003 to no date certain.
Second.
All right, moved by Mr. Taylor, supported by Mr. Mandelbaum, that we move item F to a no date certain. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The item is
Through the chair, our next item is a site plan review request, PSP 18-0003 of Kevin Finn Lawrence Technological University for Phase 2 of the LTU athletic field development to include new fencing, lighting, temporary bleachers, and a scoreboard on a property located at 21000 West 10 Mile Road. And if you give me a minute, I'd like to pull up the PowerPoint presentation.
We'll do our introduction as well. Terry pulls it up. Kevin Finn, being a student at Lawrence Tech, 21,000 West 10 Mile Road, Southfield, Michigan. And then our architect helping me on this project, Keith Russell.
Hi, Keith Russo with the Collaborative, 206 South Main, Suite 231, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48104.
So we're going to walk you through the preparations we're taking this summer for that weekend, the football program that we're bringing to Lawrence Tech for the games that we'll host starting September 1. And then also that will support also our soccer team, which both men's and women who have been using the field, as well as our men's and lacrosse teams. As we pass time, I'll just let you know our women's lacrosse team made it to the national tournament. They'll play next week for a national championship. Last year they were the runner-ups. So hopefully this year we'll bring the title back to Southfield. We'll see how it goes. We do have a dance team, yes. Okay, so I'll just, as we bring the slides up, I'll just start talking, and if you have an issue, just let me know, obviously. One of the first things that we had to address is we anticipate a higher crowd attendance at our football games than what we typically see for like a soccer game or a lacrosse match. Lacrosse has a brutal schedule. They start as late as February. Not many of us like to be outside watching a 2-hour match in February. So we anticipate anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 fans in attendance for our football games. So that is why we're bringing in the temporary bleachers, because our current bleachers would not seat that many people. The second thing is we also, and you'll see in the slides, how we address our parking on campus. Our games will be played on Saturdays, so Saturdays are not a popular day for classes, so that allows a lot of parking spaces, so it makes it very convenient. So you'll see the count analysis that we did on spots that are available, so that our fans can park on campus. The second thing is we are going to have our campus safety officers present to work with traffic flow, as well as work with the Southfield police outside the field and along 10 Mile to make sure there's no interruptions of traffic and everybody's getting to and for the stadium in a safe manner. We'll also use our 5 transit vans to help people who park on campus and maybe don't want to walk over, so that they can take a ride over there, so maybe like a grandparent or somebody who's using some type of assisted device for walking, make it easier for them to and from the field. So those are some highlights there. The things that we are looking to add that we don't have at the field right now. Is that it? There we go. That's it. All right, so that's first one you saw is kind of currently existing. So this is phase 2 that we're working on. We're going to remove, there's a bridge, and you have walked our campus or not, but there's actually a bridge that goes over the river there. We're going to remove that, so it's not an option for anybody to get to the field. It's not ADA compatible. It's not very safe, so we don't even want that as an option for people. The second thing we're going to do sidewalk repair along West 10 Mile roads from our lots A and G, which lots A and G represent the main parking lots that people will use when they come for a game day. So there's some concrete that needs repair and stuff that we'll take care of. We're going to add permanent site power. We currently at that field, if you were to come on a game day, our scoreboards and so on are ran by generators, so you hear that little buzzing noise in the background, that's probably one of our generators. We're going to add the power to the site. We're adding a new and relocated scoreboard. You'll see the location is actually up there in what would be my upper right-hand corner. Main reason we need to do that, we do not have a scoreboard that supports football right now, so you wouldn't know what down it was and all those good stats that people like to know when they're at a football game with our current scoreboard. We're going to add LED sports field lighting. And then the portable bleachers that we're bringing in, we'll see 2,000 people. So in our third phase, that's when we had permanent bleachers. In our second phase, we're going to run bleachers this time. We're also in a temporary press box for use at the field. So therefore, like the announcers, the coaches in football like to be up there if they can see the plays and call them from up there. And then we're going to update our perimeter fencing around the city areas, and then continue to work on the pedestrian path, which is a part of the TAP grant that the city council is also aware of as well.
I'd just like to add the TAP grant application that's currently in process for that will work on phase 2A that we anticipate, hopefully if successful, working with the city as a construction project that would occur in 2019. So that's not technically part of phase 2, which we're seeking approval for, but it's certainly in the close term portion of the master plan that we hope to essentially connect where the bike path leaves off right now at that entrance exit off of Northwestern Highway and extend it all the way down to 10 Mile. That's why that's showing phase 2A in 2019.
All right. Council, you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to state that you have a packet in front of you. It's a phase 2 athletic complex improvements. The site plan committee met with the members of LTU, Mr. Finn, and we unanimously approved the site plan.
Any other questions? I'd say I want, what is the ratio, how many night games we potentially have per year?
So for football, probably 0. We'll probably play most of our football games at noon or 1 o'clock. As my coach stated, Saturday nights is the one time he spent tonight with his wife. So, but our soccer matches will be some night games. Those will be on Wednesday nights. And I would say next year we have 7 home games, potentially 2 or 3 of them being night games.
Okay.
rentals is one other possibility. I know Southfield Christian is looking to play Friday night games there, which would be 3 games, I think 3 or 4 games next year.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes, approximately what percentage of your students that live on campus have automobiles? Because that's going to make a difference in the number.
About 60%, and then we actually find that number going down each year. We're finding more students coming to college without even a driver's license, which is, surprising to me because I couldn't wait to get my license when I was 16. What we are seeing is, and we're addressing this for our new housing, an increase of students bringing bikes to campus. So we'll actually have in the building you see going up, we have a bike garage in there, and then I constantly get complaints from our facilities crew when they see them using the trees and stuff to chain their bikes, but it's a good problem.
Okay, thanks.
Through the chair,
Yes.
if I could add, you can correct me, with your completion of your 4th dorm, which is on schedule for August, you have over 1,000 kids living on campus.
Yeah, just the projection numbers that we have reported to us, and we'll be just under 1,000, like 980, so I'll just give in case I'm selling exactly quotes, but yes, we're on that trend.
And
we still use variable loss as well.
Right, and that equates to about 25% of your full-time student population?
Yeah, it's at the undergraduate level, yeah, it's more than 50% though.
Mr. Mandelbaum?
Can you point out again where the scoreboard was going to be located?
Okay, so let's go to the field here, right there where that red dot is. So currently, it's on the other side. So if you go it's right here, we're just going to move to the other corner of the end zone there. Thank you.
Council, you heard the presentation. Can I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we approve PSP 18-0003.
Support.
It's moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Mr. Frazier, that we adopt PSP 18-0003. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck.
May you win the Big Ten championship. All right, we'll now go into communications.
Residents, I think you know who I am already. This is not a public hearing, so you know your independent voice. I brought up the issue about this recent foreclosure town hall meeting that Councilwoman Morris put together, so to speak. And she said some things on the record, so I had to go back and watch a couple of the meetings, and I'm just going to give you the comment and then the fact. The comment, Councilwoman Tanya Morris stated that the Oakland County Treasurer does these forums all over the county, and she had a conversation and partnered with them. The fact, according to the Oakland County Treasurer's Office, this event was a Councilwoman Morris event, and they stated that they were invited to the event by Councilwoman Tanya Morris. Comment, she stated that she doesn't know proper procedure and looks forward to the conversation with council. Fact, she said that last time, and she tried doing her own town hall meeting, remember, for the roads, and she was new and she didn't know that. But yet she voted on the ethics policy, which was drafted specifically to avoid council members from having their own town hall meeting. What you guys did not put in the draft was what happens if you break your own ethics policy. There are no consequences. Comment, she stated at a previous council meeting when homeowners were complaining about their homes that she ran a nonprofit organization, which those individuals could avoid foreclosure, and she offered them help. So here's a question. How many of the people invited did you sign up as clients to your nonprofit organization? Are you using your position as a councilwoman to advance your personal business? How many of those participants gave a campaign contribution when you ran for city council? How many of the companies or organizations that were present at your town hall meeting, do they do business with your company at your church or nonprofit? And this might not be a proper question, but I'm gonna put it out there. Were there any kickbacks? So if you look back, the town hall meeting, there's been about 4 ethical violations committed by Ms. Morris, who I do respect. And you talk about the 2 budget-related items. So how many council people are gonna be allowed to have their own meetings? You know, I wanna do a town hall meeting and educate residents on how to become a city advocate, how to become an oversight person and watch what the city does. Can I rent the library? I don't think so. And then, are you gonna pay the city back for that money? That's all I wanna know.
Next person recognized is Mr. Gerard Mullen.
Gerard.
Buenos status. My name is Gerard Mullen, Southfield Citizens Oversight Committee, Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037. Tonight, I'd like to talk about Section 9.10. 9.10 in the Southfield City Charter. 9.10 is entitled Board of Review, and I quote from Section 9.10. Please bear with me as the quote is awkward but short. Quote, "No member of the Board of Review during his term of office shall be an appointed officer," unquote. In other words, what the authors of 9.10 meant to say but failed to say grammatically is this: no member of the Board of Review during his term of office can serve on any other board or commission. Sad to say, currently an alternate member, Member X of the Board of Review, is serving also as a member on the Civil Service Commission in possible violation of Section 9.10. I say possible because the Charter fails to address alternate membership. Conversely, in the same manner, the very same alternate member, Member X of the Board of Review, and who is also serving on the Civil Service Commission, is in possible violation of Section 6.5, in that civil service members also are not allowed to be on any other board or commission, in this case, the Board of Review. But again, this is a gray area because the Charter fails to address alternate membership. But Civil Service Member X is in definite violation of Section 11.22 in that he is not a member of the CSRS Board, in spite of the fact that Section 11.22 states that all 3 members of the Civil Service Commission must be members of the CSRS Board. No matter how you look at it, Member X is in violation of the Charter because of a catch-22 situation. Happy birthday, happy 60th birthday. Gracias.
Thank you. As our communication section, we will now go to the council section. Ms. Morris?
Yes, I do want to make a statement.
Put your mic on.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I do want to make a statement. At the last city council meeting held April 16th, as well as this evening, some comments have been made and questions were asked of me previously regarding the foreclosure prevention workshop that I had hosted in partnership with Oakland County Treasurer Andy Meisner. As I previously stated, the purpose of the event was to support and educate Southfield residents who were at risk for losing their homes to property tax foreclosure. Outside of a family member or loved one, our residents' most valuable asset is their home. When Southfield residents reached out for help and assistance, I responded to their needs by hosting the event. This was not a political event. The event was in alignment with the city's goals of increasing property values and stabilizing our homeowner tax base by proactively bringing solutions and resources to those most in need. Thus, as chair of the Neighborhood Services Committee, I am in support of the NRI's stated mission and its efforts to revitalize our housing stock. In addition, there have been statements made that imply that I violated the City of Southfield's ethics policy. Section 5, subsection D2C of the ethics policy states, in part, that elected city officials may use available meeting rooms in city facilities not more than once per calendar quarter to meet with constituents to discuss city-related issues. I take my job of serving the people of Southfield very seriously. I am passionate about housing and community development issues, which is what I have spent the last 20 years of my life working on. And I believe it is important for me to address any misrepresentations of me or my character. To that end, I want to state publicly that I did not violate the City of Southfield's ethics policy. Although freedom of speech is a right in the United States, we need to have responsible speech that is rooted in facts and not in one's personal or political agenda. As it relates to helping the citizens of Southfield, that will always be my first priority. In conclusion, to promote transparency and clarity for our citizens, I recommend to the chair that the City of Southfield's ethics policy be placed on the city's website immediately. Thank you.
I want to address one of the speakers. Mr. Mullen mentioned that we had a board of review member who is in violation of section 9.10. When that member X, if I recall correctly, has actually a few months ago resigned from the board of review because of this conflict and only serves on the SERS board and no longer serves on the board of review. So we caught that and we made him choose, and I believe he chose to resign from the board of review. So thank you for pointing out the mistake, but we were aware of that one already. I also want to thank the entire city staff and the community for a wonderful event yesterday. It was very well attended. My children did not want to leave. My son even told me last night that he's coming back today for more face painting and balloon animals. So he did have a wonderful time. So thank you very much for the staff for putting together a wonderful event, as well as for the community for coming out. That being said, there are a lot of events coming up now that we get into the springtime, and some of them start this Saturday with the 38th annual fishing derby at Carpenter Lake from 8 to 12. At the same time, we have a tennis free-for-all here on the municipal campus from 10 to 12. On May 9th, here at the pavilion, we will have JVS will be having a job connection recruiting event. They've partnered with several organizations, so if you know someone looking for a job, have them please come out on May 9th. On May 14th, from 1 to 6 at the library, we have Weatherfest. They have young meteorologists and have weather safety tips. And they also will have emergency vehicles there. You can look at, climb in, things like that. On May 22nd, Tuesday, from 10 to 2 here in the pavilion, we're having a senior vendor fair, I should say. We'll gear towards seniors, I believe ages 50 and up. They'll have health insurance providers, senior housing counselors, home health care providers, and a whole bunch of other vendors that you can come out and talk with and learn more about the services available to you in the Southfield community. Last but certainly not least, we have a long-time employee who runs our cable department, who is retiring. This is going to be his last meeting working the cameras or the wires. Kit Primos will be retiring and moving up north. So thank you very much for your service to the city. We appreciate it. And have a good evening to everyone. Thank you.
Anyone? Mr. Picasso?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good thing is there was a petition that came before council from some gas station owners. I'd like to have that put on the next meeting to discuss.
Talking about the ice.
The ice box.
That's going to the legislative meeting.
When?
At our next meeting.
Do you have a copy of the petition? Okay.
Okay.
Just let me know. No, no.
Okay.
Anyway, the other thing is that, Mr. Administrator, I don't know what we're gonna do, but 12 Mile Road has to be fixed. And I hear so many complaints on 12 Mile Road. And, you know, we've gone and swept it, and they put, asphalt on the potholes, and then it come to the sides again. There's holes right along the curb, the cars are hitting them. There's holes everywhere. No matter where you go, you get in the right lane, you're gonna lose a hubcap. There's a couple already on the side of the road. And there's flat tires. You make a shell rich over there. But anyway, there's a real problem there, and they ought to know it. And when I-696 is backed up, you only can go 10 mile and 12 mile to get across town. And now you're gonna close 9 Mile Road, so 12 mile is really gonna get hit hard. I don't know what the county is gonna do about it, but I know that has to be a major, major priority to them. And I don't know what we can do to put the heat on them, maybe our commissioners, but I'm just really concerned about it. Right along, even the gutters, drains are all full with dirt. There's water backing up on the road because they can't get, our guys are really on top of it, but you can't keep up with it, you know? And I don't know, I'd like to get something going, Fred.
We will relay that to
You know, I know they did from Evergreen to Southfield, but boy, I'll tell you, they did the bridge, you know, when they did the bridge on 12 Mile Road, and between Lasher and Telegraph, there was a section of curb out, about 6 foot wide, long, and they fixed the bridge, and right next to the bridge, they left the curb. In other words, a little bit of cement, you could have fixed another 10 foot of curbing, you just left it. You know, I mean, they're just ignoring it. I know that I've seen the sweeping, $11,000 to maintain it, 3 sweeps a year, I guess they give us money for. Our guys are on that road all the time, trying to keep it clean and passable. But they're lined up, traffic is lined up around 4 o'clock to 5. It goes all the way past my subdivision, trying to get going east. And that's, you're talking about 5-lane traffic, the 2 are lined up all the way back, going 3/4 of a mile. And I don't know what the county's looking at, but there's really people living down here, whether they know it or not. Thank you.
I too want to, well, let me address this part. I will make arrangements for the ethics policy to be put online. And it's only appropriate that we have those transparency. There's just no reason for it not to be online. I'll work with the appropriate to determine where it's placed. And with respect to the anniversary event, I thought it was spectacular. I want to thank Mr. Thorne and his staff for putting on something that nice on such short notice. And it came up, and it gives me great pleasure to know that we have mentioned to we have over 1,000 participants there yesterday. That counts based on some of the supplies, and they know they had more than 1,000 actually those packets were dispensed. And it gives me gives us something to rotate on a going-forward basis. And obviously not every year because the department's not going to change every year, but we could probably do something like that every 2 to 3 years, just to bring the people out and just expand it a little more. But that was, I had good comments from all around that it was a very good show, and just very fortunate we had good weather. But thank you, and please relay that to your staff that the council people I've spoken to first were pleased with the outcome, and given such a short notice, they did a spectacular job. With that, if no other
Well,
council.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say one thing, and take it for what it is, because I don't usually practice someone like that. We used to have spring elections in Southfield, and we became a city on April 28th, 1958. And so Saturday, it was my 49th year with the city. Did experience all the good things that happened in Southfield. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. With that, we move on to the mayor.
Good evening once again. I also am very pleased with yesterday's event. We had a steady flow of people in the pavilion and on the grounds from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And the feedback from our residents was tremendous. I heard from many people, we're going to do this more often. I give credit to Mr. Councilman Mandelbaum, who wanted to have a Southfield 101, so we kind of blended that in. A lot of information was shared from the departments, even departments you rarely see, like the assessing departments on public works. You see them out working, but the opportunity to have a face-to-face with people that are running their departments, I thought was excellent. So kudos to the staff, and particularly to our Community Relations Department for coordinating this event. And as Mr. Mandelbaum also, I seem to have to echo him all the time, I want to wish congratulations to Kit Primo as well. There have been a number of occasions where this man knows technology and all the equipment in this room, and I've been flummoxed, and Kit, sort of quiet strength, he comes up and just takes care of things. And when you're doing a presentation and you're depending on AV, it's nice to know that somebody's there to back you up. On behalf of the Public Works Department and GFL, we are moving well ahead since the windstorm or the ice storm with the pickup of branches. And just remind residents, once again, it really helps the staff that's out there picking up branches. If things aren't just thrown in a heap, but rather butt end of the branches out to the street, it just makes the job easier and obviously quicker for the branches to get picked up. This starting Saturday, May 5th, running through May 12th, is Michigan Modernism Week, and Southfield has a piece in that. On Sunday, May 6th, from 2 to 4:30 p.m., we'll be doing our annual Mid-Century Modern Architecture Tour. It starts and ends at Shaare Zedek Synagogue. The bus makes a loop throughout the city. It's about a 15-mile or so loop around, and we go into have 4 stops on the route, as well as pointing out a lot of things in our collection of architecture that includes religious edifices, commercial buildings, homes, and neighborhoods. The tickets are still available. They're almost gone, but tickets are available either through my office or online by going to www.dads.org, which is the Detroit Art Deco Society, which is the co-sponsor of this event, along with the Southfield Historical Society. And I'd like to challenge the council to come out on Saturday morning for the bladder awareness walk. It's a mile. And kicks off at 9, but I think the walk actually starts at 10. So I'd like all of you, I invite you to join me and others for this event on Saturday at Catawba Park, Catawba Park. Thank you.
Mr. Administrator? Madam Attorney?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Clerk? Madam Clerk?
Just a real quick reminder that we do have an election on May 8th. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. As previously stated, this election is only for those who reside within the Southfield School District. And lastly, we will be open on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. for absentee voting. Thank you.
Okay. Treasurer is planning?
Nothing further, thank you.
Assessor? The engineer? We have no scheduling. Ordinances are taken care of. Nothing on ordinance. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.